Right. I've got 7 o'clock. I will open up the July 22nd meeting of the Wakefield Conservation Commission. Roll call. Frank,
I'm here.
Ken,
Here.
Peter,
Here.
Savannah,
Here.
Jimmy,
Here.
Teresa,
Here.
and okay, all present. First up is the approval of the minutes from July 8th. Any questions, comments? And if not, is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve those minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Ken,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Peter,
Peter's on mute again.
Yes.
Savannah,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yeah, yes.
Frank.
I was absent. I'll abstain.
Okay, I do vote to approve those minutes. All right, next up is, we don't have a file number yet, but it's Lake Street Foundry Development LLC. Public hearing notice of intent for the replacement of a drain pipe in Lake Street to handle stormwater from Foundry Street lofts with an outfall into the Wakefield Brook, thereby impacting 4 linear feet of inland bank and 48 square feet of land underwater. Again, we don't have a file number yet. We have received the green cards and take it away.
Okay, would you like us to begin, or does Rebecca have any opening remarks, or we can get right into it?
Nope, I got the receipts from Mary today, so we're all set.
Okay, so thank you for your time tonight, members of the commission. My name is Tim Sullivan. I'm with Foundry Development, Inc. and also Seaver Construction, Inc. We are the developers and contractors of the just opened 69 Foundry Street condominium building. And along with the condominium building, there was this offsite improvement on Lake Street that was agreed to with the town back in 2017. With me tonight here is Mark Slager, our civil engineer throughout the life of the project, and also Mary Trudeau, our wetlands consultant, and each one of them will speak in a moment to their respective issues relative to this part of the project. Real brief history here is that back in 2017, the project first came before the Conservation Commission for an overall assessment of the project site, which is mostly bounded on Foundry Street, and a little small tab of the property extends over to Lake Street. And in late 2017, that project was approved and issued an original order of conditions. At the time, during the negotiations and reviews, the drainage of the site changed from being surface drainage through a swale into Wakefield Brook. It evolved into being this storm drain pipe, of which there currently is an 18-inch storm drain in Lake Street that discharges directly into Wakefield Brook. At the request of the engineering department, we're now proposed to install a 24-inch drain pipe to replace the 18-inch drain pipe in virtually the same location until the very end of the drainage line, where we'll penetrate the sidewall of the culvert into Wakefield Brook about 10 feet or so offset from where it currently is today. But Mark will get into a few of those details. And at the time that that change was made to drain the project to Lake Street, there was not any specific language in the order of conditions with regard to that part of the project. There was no dewatering plan, there was no impact plan. It was kind of a late addition to the approval. And then as this year, when we wanted to get the work done. And in discussions with Rebecca, it became evident that we needed to submit this new NOI that is on the table tonight in order to provide more robust information detailing wetland impacts, dewatering, and that type of thing relative to this part of the project. So that's what this submission includes. And we're looking to get this work done this fall. And the most significant piece of impact is the penetration of the sidewall of the culvert under Lake Street and poking a new pipe, 24-inch, into the stream bed. It requires us to get inside the culvert temporarily, might be as few as just a 2-day project to get in there, core the hole, and get the pipe pulled through there, and then patch it back up and get out of there. And so this is a temporary impact, not a permanent impact. But Mary will address those issues in a moment. So with that, unless there are any general questions, I'm happy to turn it over to Mark, who will kind of walk you through some of the technical aspects of what we need to do.
Okay, good evening. My name is Mark Slager. I'm with Allen Engineering, the civil engineer on the project. If you'd like, I could share my screen to show you the plan.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark, you can share.
All right, can everyone see that okay?
Got it.
All right. So what we're proposing to do is replace the existing 18-inch culvert that goes down Lake Street into a catch basin and then ultimately into the 8-foot wide box culvert. The original design called for putting a 24-inch pipe next to the existing 18 and then utilizing the same core into the culvert. However, it's really not possible to do that because of all of the other utilities. So the only place we could put the drain, the 24-inch pipe, is exactly where the 18-inch pipe is now. The existing 18-inch pipe has zero pitch from up at Lake Street and the site entrance right across from Ballister Street, all the way down to the catch basin adjacent to the culvert. There's zero pitch, and they had to do it because if you look at the profile, there are a lot of sewer services that connect to the houses that run over the top of the culvert rather than underneath it. And the reason being is the sewer main actually runs off across the top of the culvert as well. So there's very little clearance and very little leeway to go between the sewer inverts for the services and the bottom of the culvert. So the new pipe is going to be in the same location, going to be at the same slope. We're just increasing the capacity of the system with a larger pipe. What we're doing now is a new manhole just before the existing catch basin, and we're going to do a new core into the culvert. The most significant part of this whole process is the methodology by which we have to do it with respect to dewatering. And I'll just go through the dewatering plan now. Basically, what we'll do is plug the core. We'll plug the existing catch basin, which has the outlet that goes into the culvert. We can plug that and then dewater the system without having to drain anything from the existing culvert. We can drain this entire stretch of piping that's going to be replaced. And we'll be pumping that into a frac tank that's going to be located in a small portion of the property. And if any of you not familiar with a frac tank, it's a large, essentially a tractor trailer type situation. Usually it's around a 20,000 gallon tank that you can pump into. And it's got, equipment in there for promoting settlement of all of the solids. So we don't have to do a bag filter or anything. This will provide better settlement of the water that's pumped into it. Once we get that plugged, then we can start dewatering that system by putting in a sump and some pumps and pumping up to the frac tank. And then we can start removing the 18-inch pipe. And we're going to start at the downstream end, pretty much adjacent to where ECB2 is, next to the culvert. And as we work up, we're going to install a new 24-inch pipe in the same location at the same elevation. And then at the end of each workday, we can actually connect the existing 18-inch pipe back into the new 24-inch pipe for overnight in case there's any rain events or anything, so we can keep that drain active. We could also keep the plug in place if we know for sure there isn't going to be any rain. But if there is going to be rain, we can just pull the plug and then the system will remain active and we can get back to work as soon as the rainstorm event ends and things settle down a little bit. We can just basically go back in, replug the outlet of the catch basin, re-establish a dewatering system into that frac tank, and continue on replacing the 18-inch line all the way up to the new manhole, which is up at the site access or the site property, proposed DMH1. That drain manhole has actually already been installed so that we had a positive outlet from the drainage system on the Lake Street Lofts or Foundry Street Lofts site. So once we get all of that work done, then the last thing we would do is core into the existing culvert. And the way we would do that is just basically take a few sandbags and build a little work area inside the culvert. And we would have to remove some of the sediment that's at the bottom of it. We could do that all by hand because, I mean, obviously we're not going to get any equipment in there, but we'll do all of that by hand, remove the sediment, make the core into the culvert, and then attach that last section of pipe so that we can just make that final connection, cement it in place, and then we can remove the sandbags. Hopefully that can be done within one working day, although with Murphy's Law in place, we'll probably end up using maybe 2 to 3 days at the most to make that final connection. Once that connection is made, we can remove the sandbags and just reopen the system. At the very end, the existing catch basins that are there now, those will remain, but there will be no connection between our new drainage system and the existing catch basin 2. That's going to be a completely separate system, and the existing 18-inch core into the culvert for that system will remain in place. In talking to Bill Renault last fall, he indicated that this catch basin and the other catch basins in Foundry Street are in pretty rough shape, so we don't really want to do anything with those at this point. And he indicated that the town would add that onto their list of maintenance items and replace that catch basin in the future. He didn't give a timeline for that though, but when that is done, he would have the option of tying into the new manhole, or he could just remain, keep the 18-inch in place, and we would have 2 cores into that culvert. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mary, and she can discuss all the wetland impacts.
Hey, Mark, before you do that, question for you.
Yeah.
So you're blocking the downstream side. The upstream side is going to run into a frac tank.
Yes.
So are you going to be able to shut off the upstream side if you need to?
If we
Mark,
need to, yeah.
Mark, can I maybe clarify? I think the question was relative to the water in Wakefield Brook. I think you're talking about in the trench. We're not going to cut off Wakefield Brook. We're going to sandbag around half the width of Wakefield Brook so that the water is flowing through the other half of the culvert.
Okay. Okay, I get it.
I think Mark thought the question had to do with the trench that we're digging for our storm drainage pipe.
Okay. Thank you. That answered my question.
Yeah, the water will continue to, most of the time the water in there is very static unless there's been, rainfall, and we wouldn't be doing the work if there was rainfall. So while we're doing the work, we expect the water to be pretty static. We'll cut the culvert in half, basically, and water will flow down one side and we'll work on the other side.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening. My name is Mary Trudeau, and I've been working with Mark Slager and Tim Sullivan on the wetland impacts for this project. This is clearly an urban stream that both the bank inside of the culvert and the bank immediately upstream and downstream of the culvert crossing are man-made, that there are large granite blocks that form the statutory bank above and below the culvert, and the interior of the culvert, the bank is formed by the exterior walls of the 8-foot wide culvert. So it's a completely man-made bank situation. We currently believe that this is a box culvert with a concrete bottom on it, but we have had trouble determining that because I was sent in to figure out whether the sediment depth went down to concrete or just went down to earth, but it was really, there was just too much sediment and it was too soft and wet for me to get much further than the entrance of the culvert. But in any case, we will need to be altering an area of approximately 6 feet by 8 feet of this land under waterway resource area. And this alteration will take the form of sediment removal that will be scraping the silt by hand out of an area approximately 6 by 8 in dimension to allow us to have a work area for where the 24-inch pipe cuts into the wall of box culvert. And we need this work area because you need to be able to access both sides of the pipe to seal it in properly and to core it out. There are no bordering vegetated wetlands within the vicinity of this cross culvert. That there's a very strong stand of Japanese knotweed, Polygonum cuspidatum, on all of the 4 quadrants, but I didn't find any wetlands vegetation. And I think that that's probably a function of both the historic creation of granite and concrete walls, as well as dredging patterns in the area. I looked on the USGS map to determine whether this was a perennial stream or an intermittent stream, and the USGS map, as is typical in urbanized areas, doesn't show this stream as perennial. I'm not sure that that accurately reflects the conditions of this waterway. For one, it is named, it's the Wakefield Brook. It has a substantial width to it. It's probably 12 feet wide. And I think that it's very reactive to storm events, that I suspect that we get flash flooding through that culvert when there's a lot of water coming in, that we have a lot of pavement in this vicinity in the watershed. And I really can't imagine that this stream dries up for more than a few days every year. The water at the time I was out there was really just standing there. It was hard to tell which direction the stream flowed. It's very flat, and it does look like it is maintained by, I assume, the DPW to keep water flowing through it. There was very little debris in the culvert or in the waterway upstream or downstream of this. The impacts that we have calculated are approximately 4 feet of bank alteration with potentially 2 feet of restoration. And that would be when the 18-inch culvert that's existing there is sealed off at some point. That would give you back 18 inches or 2 feet of bank area. The 24-inch pipe that we're putting in will alter 24 inches of this sidewall, creating a loss of 2 feet of bank area. So we've calculated the amount of dredge that we think might happen in this culvert in the 6 foot by 8 foot section. And we were estimating it as something less than 2 cubic yards of material would be removed by hand to allow for the new 24-inch pipe to be put in. I think I put 1.7 cubic yards in the notice of intent, and I can't imagine that we would exceed that. With that, I guess I would open it to the board for questions. very quiet.
Thinking.
Yeah. We're all thinking.
Okay.
So let me get this straight. The proposed drain manhole number 3 connects to the culvert. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you doing, what type of, are you doing any sediment removal? I mean, what do you have to treat the water that's coming in from the street? It goes, if I'm right, it goes into these 2 catch basins, then into manhole number 3, and then into the brook?
Well, there's 2 catch basins, ECB 2,
Yeah,
that currently flows into the culvert, but it also collects drain runoff from, you can see proposed drain manhole 2 and then proposed drain manhole 1. All of that comes down, the existing 18-inch pipe comes into ECB 2 and then through that into the existing culvert. What we're going to do is eliminate the connection for now between proposed drain manhole 3 and ECB 2 so that it won't go through that. We were eliminating basically a catch basin connection, which is the preferred method for DC in DEP. It's not clear at this point what the town is intending to do with their final outfall. It's possible they would keep the 18-inch pipe coming out of ECB 2, or they would have the option of eliminating that, plugging it up and connecting into drain manhole 3 that we're going to be installing. So that hasn't been
and what type of
determined.
manhole, what type, I'm trying to understand how the water gets into the brook and what, if there's any treatment before it gets to the brook.
There is no treatment before it gets to the brook other than the deep sump catch basins.
So
This is completely an existing system. And all we're doing is increasing the size of the pipe.
But while we're doing that, why aren't we doing something to capture the sediment?
All
Like
we're
some
doing
sort
is
of
replacing a
swirl
pipe. We're not adding
saver or
catch
something?
basins. It's very difficult to work in the existing catch basins. There was nothing discussed as far as oil hoods or replacing catch basins.
Yeah, but I mean, that's absolutely, you're providing no mitigation to the water quality.
Well, the water quality that basically was treated from the Foundry Street Lofts project itself, because we had a significant reduction in the amount of impervious area. The impervious area from that site basically sheet flowed directly into the brook. So there was absolutely no treatment at all. The new site has deep sump catch basins and a reduction of almost a ½ acre of impervious area. And rather than being discharged through that little swale across that part of the site, it's being routed into Lake Street. So all of the water that is coming from Foundry Street Lofts has been treated to the maximum extent practicable. But we don't have any obligation to treat anything that exists in Lake Street now. So that's basically where we are with that.
Was there a storm scepter or something like that on the new lot being developed?
No,
It's just deep sump?
just deep sump catch basins.
Okay.
It went before the commission and they were satisfied at the time, the commission was satisfied with the treatment that we were providing.
Has Bill Minow approved this plan?
Excuse me, what was that?
I said, has Bill Minow approved this?
He has, we met with him on the field a couple of times to discuss everything. I don't know if he's actually signed off on anything because he was waiting to get a formal submittal. So I don't know where he stands with his comments. Perhaps Tim has had conversations with him since we've submitted it. So I would defer to him for any comments from Bill.
Not recently, Mark, but when we first engaged with Bill over this in the fall of last year, you had made modifications to the plan at Bill's request. And in an email, he indicated that he was satisfied that our plan was complete and workable. We have not gone back to him to discuss the dewatering, sequencing, and that type of thing. But the engineering of the plan, I felt, was approved by Bill in the fall of last year. Mark, you recall any differently?
Yeah, I that's my recollection, although I do recall that we submitted the dewatering plan to him as well. We actually
We did,
make
yes, we
some
did.
adjustments to it,
And we modified it since then, yeah, a little bit.
but we don't have anything in writing saying that, you know, he's approved everything.
Rebecca, have we gotten anything from Bill Renault on this?
I did send him both the NOI and the new stormwater management report. He was out today. He had the day off. He did reply that he was looking for some more details, but he will take care of that. So at this point, he hasn't reviewed the new stormwater report that I know him.
All right, so we'll be waiting for his comments. Anyways, we don't have a file number either, so no matter what, it's going to remain open, the hearing.
I have a question. Could you zoom out on this plan that's up now and just show the drainage starting from the Foundry Street site? Where it was going previously and now where it's being rerouted to, just so I understand the full picture.
I think that would be a different plan,
Yeah,
Mark, right?
I'll have to,
Plan.
yeah, hold on a second.
It's okay, just has to switch files. Mark, actually, do you have the pre and post drainage calculation that was submitted in the back of the stormwater report?
Well, I have a new screen up now. Can you see the overall site plan?
No,
Not yet.
it's not.
Okay.
Not yet.
Same one.
Reshare that, I guess.
Still don't see it, Mark.
Here it is.
You got it now?
Got it.
Okay. So let's go up to the existing condition. This was the existing building, and this other gray hatched area is all of the existing pavement. And down in this corner, there was a small swale where all of this pavement drained into the channel right here, down in the southwest corner of the site. So all of this was untreated. This portion, actually, there's a portion of the site that drained out to Lake Street, but there was no catch basin, just went into the existing catch basin in Lake Street, but there was no treatment for that either. So when we came up with the new design, we added some catch basins. We eliminated the pavement and the access out to Lake Street. We have a substantial reduction in the amount of impervious area on the site. All of these catch basins are now rooted into a central drainage system that comes down this access way to Lake Street and then into the existing drainage system. So, and at the time, we just proposed to replace it with a new 24-inch pipe. And let's see what I have for details on that. You can see where we had proposed to put the new 24-inch kind of offset from the existing drain line, and we were going to initially intercept ECB1 and ECB2 down by the culvert, put the manhole in between, and then core into that. Unfortunately, there was some existing water mains in the way, so we weren't able to do it in this manner. So we ended up having to come in with a new location, and rather than eliminate this catch basin and eliminate what we're doing is eliminating the catch basin scenario that exists now from the existing drain manhole up near our site, which goes into the catch basin. So if you look back on what we're doing now, we're adding a manhole here and connecting it separately so that this whole system could actually be a separate system from what we're proposing. Does that help clarify things?
Could you go back to the other view that showed the development? Please.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so this is good to see this again. So the bottom right-hand corner where was free flowing into the culvert, that grading has been changed. Nothing will be flowing from that corner anymore, correct?
Nothing from the pavement. There
Right.
a little bit of landscape area here and landscape area here that would flow into it, but it's all just lawn area.
Right, and there's curb all around the paved area too.
Right.
6-inch granite reveal. Yeah.
Yeah, there's curbing to prevent any runoff from going into that.
Right.
Catch basins. So, and then the commission did require that we add a post and rail fence so that this area isn't used for snow storage.
Right.
So
What is the difference between the volume of water that was flowing in the pre-existing conditions versus now what's flowing to the stream?
let's see, I have that in the stormwater management report.
I have to tell you, trying to follow this thing, and it's not that easy. I mean, my issue would be that I don't think you can take all the water away from that wetland. In my mind, that's an alteration in itself.
Which wetland? At the southeast corner of the site?
Yes. Well, the south is the southeast, or
So
southwest, right?
it's southwest. Yeah, because north is to the
Southwest,
left of the page.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, is that a subject matter of this filing, Jim?
Is it a subject? Well, why wouldn't it be? Because the design point for us would be the property line.
Well, we already have an order of conditions
Right.
for that project. This filing is only for the replacement of the 18-inch pipe. That project has already been approved and an order of conditions has been issued and everything's been constructed.
Hmm.
That was
But I
my,
think, Mark, is it not the case that the original site was close to 100% impervious and the new site
Right.
is something on the order of 80 to 90% impervious, which just automatically, creates a reduction in the flow?
Yeah, we have a significant reduction in the peak rate and the volume going to the channel, the canal.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We have a reduction of 20,470 square feet of impervious area at the site.
yeah.
I don't have the exact numbers of percentages yet. It was
Mhm.
97% of the site in the existing condition was impervious.
Yeah.
So
So,
Jim, just, is it fair to say, I mean, it just seems to me that in fairness, that if the, or I'm not saying in fairness, but it would appear to me that if the commission approved the plan for the site that included that drainage plan, that we're working with that on this filing, and that's no longer the subject of this filing. Does anyone else, I mean, should we discuss that? I mean, I think we should discuss that sort of as a threshold point, I guess.
I agree.
Oh, yeah, we've already approved this. Our concern at that time was untreated water from that southwestern corner flowing in. And that
Okay.
was addressed by the curbing, the landscaped area,
Mhm.
and a change in elevations.
I understand that I mean, I guess my I think the point of the applicant taken that anything that, as Jim said, anything that's coming out of that is coming out of it pursuant to a plan that has already been before the commission and was approved. And so it would seem to me the starting point of this filing should accept that.
Yes,
And
But wasn't it approved without was the outflow always going to the other location on Lake Street? Were you always going in that direction on the original filing?
Mark can amplify this, but my
the very-
understanding, it was
yeah.
submitted with the swale as the outfall, but over the course of the commission's deliberations, the updated submission included the Lake Street outfall for all the stormwater, and that's what was approved.
so are you representing that this is what is happening here is consistent with what was approved? We can check on it, but
Yes.
that is your okay.
And really, all we're here now to do is to discuss and update you on the methodology and more detail about the specific impacts of this,
Understood.
piece of work. That's what we're.
Can I interrupt just a quick second? I think there's a little bit of also confusion that I have had throughout this process, and maybe we can talk about it as well, which was originally, and I wasn't here for the original filing, so I wasn't privy to those meetings. However, when I looked through it, it looked like there was the original proposal of which stormwater management report was submitted. And then I think what I had to do with was going through that swale had to went over somebody else's property. So it was then changed to the current system. But when it was changed to the current system that is proposed in front of you now, there wasn't a reevaluation of how this current system meets the stormwater management standards. And it also didn't include the impacts that we're discussing now in regard to bank and through the culvert, et cetera. So there was, from what I thought, it was twofold, the issue. One being that the potential temporary impacts during construction to the inland bank and land underwater hadn't ever been discussed. In addition, when it went through into the Lake Street drainage system, that was never, new information wasn't ever put back into the stormwater management standards for approval. Is that incorrect?
I'd say that is correct, Rebecca, and that really was the genesis of why we submitted the new stormwater report with this application was to close that loose end, as you referred to.
Yeah, so I think, Peter, you were somewhat, and then maybe I misunderstood what you were getting at, but it was, why are we reviewing something if there was already an approved plan? And the reality is the new stormwater stuff wasn't actually approved in the stormwater management report.
Is the stormwater management directly part of our, I guess what I am trying to understand is kind of the, that if the project is a done deal and the water coming out at that rate from the property is a done deal, what is our role in terms of, I know that there's the amount of property that's in our jurisdiction is it looks to me like it's very minor in size. I just wanted to sort of understand what are the, starting at the very top, what are the parameters of what are the things that we as a commission should be focusing on. We're identifying, it seems to me like we always start by saying, what are the resource areas? And the resource areas are just those two, just the stream bed and and what is it even says it right on the agenda. I'm sorry. So we start out by doing that. And I guess don't we always talk about, are we satisfied that is the resource area?
Mm-hmm.
And then all I want to do is sort of, in my own way, just sort of understand, starting at the top, what are the rules? What are the rules of the road, and how are we applying the facts to those rules? And so we're looking at, maybe, do we have any questions about, is that the appropriate resource area? Is it properly put on the map. And then I guess the rest is what should be done to protect it, right? And then this, I'm going to stop talking and maybe we can just, I just would like to sort of understand what the rules are here.
So I guess I didn't understand. So this, the filing is really for Lake Street
Yes,
only.
yes.
Basically for the pipe. 24-inch pipe, replacing the 18-inch.
Right.
Well, not replacing it, it's in addition to it.
No, it's replacing it now.
No, I thought, I'm sorry, I thought you said you can't, you're not replacing it, it's gonna stay in place.
No, I thought they said they couldn't put adjacent.
18-inch pipe gets replaced by the 24-inch pipe in the same
Okay, I'm
location.
sorry, I misunderstood, thank you.
Okay, it's a complicated conversation, I get it.
So looking at just the agenda item, it's really hard to see this on the map because it's so small, but I guess, are we saying that the resource area is 4 linear feet of inland bank and 48 square feet of land underwater?
Yes,
That
Pretty
is,
much.
okay. And so I guess the scope of that is for us to review the impact of this project on that.
And it's a temporary impact. I mean, we put the sandbags in, we do our work, we take the sandbags out, and things return to their natural state with whatever sediments, would be on the bottom of the culvert.
Well, the
So the
impact
point-
to the bank is permanent in the sense that the 24-inch pipe will require a hole being bored into the bank. So where you currently have a sheet of concrete as the edge of bank, you'll have an opening or orifice that water from the 24-inch discharges into the culvert. The alteration to the land under waterway is arguably an improvement that will be pulling out approximately 1.7 cubic yards of accumulated road salts and sediments that have been running through this relatively flat culvert and have just been stuck there. They're not proposing to clean the entire culvert, just a work area large enough for us to install the 24-inch pipe into the bank of this stream.
and you said you're doing this because the town engineer asked you to do this.
It's an off-site mitigation that was required for this project. We did not understand that the work to replace the pipe was not included in the Foundry Street order of conditions. And Timothy engaged in a series of conversations with Rebecca, and she noted accurately that we had not detailed this work in either the notice of intent or the site plans that had been submitted with the filing. So we went back a step to show what the work would entail to replace the 18-inch drain line in Lake Street with a 24-inch drain line. And this is why we've come forward with the filing. It's really to provide you with the additional information that you need to determine that the replacement of the pipe will not have an adverse impact on the wetland resource areas associated with the Wakefield Brook.
So to go back to the standard then, this is just for my fellow commissioners. Are we, I guess, are we at all concerned with, do we really have a dog in the hunt about whether what's happening here is adequate? Whether this will work and provide the right drainage, or is that really a DEP issue? Such that our only job is to really look at the transitory, the construction phase. That's I guess my question, because it seems to me like if the project is a done deal, then to be adequate drainage, but I just don't know if that's really our hunt and whether our hunt is more limited to just the temporary aspect of the construction and accepting the fact that there would be there's going to be a whole board.
I would assume that when you did the issuance of an order of conditions for the Foundry Street project, that the due diligence to review the stormwater management calculations would have taken that into account. At this point, we are taking, literally, as you say, a done deal. We're taking stormwater from a point on our property and changing the way the town's infrastructure can handle it. We're expanding a drain line. We're not adding impervious surface to the site. We're not changing the drainage patterns that were approved in the order of conditions. We're merely accommodating the needs of the existing infrastructure in this city of Wakefield's road.
And it's the town that requested the change from the 18 to the 24, correct?
Correct.
Right. So I guess I'll go back to my commissioners. Are we really the ones who should be worried about the adequacy of the drainage plan, or should we be just principally focused on the transitory aspect of the construction phase?
Of the alteration, yeah.
You know what I don't understand is why were we giving this stormwater management report? It's got all the subcategories for flow, and I mean, what was the reason for looking
Was
at
it back of Ashford, maybe?
We had to update that at the request of your agent because she correctly noted again that the old stormwater management report had not been updated as the discussions of the commission for the Foundry Street approval were done. It still referred to the swale, which has not been a part of this project since before the order was issued. So we submitted a revised stormwater worksheet to show you the impacts of this particular piece of the drainage, but it's basically what you saw 2 years ago.
Yeah, I really merged together the original September 2017 submission with the November 2017 updated calculations. It mushed them together into one comprehensive and consistent document. That's why we submitted it this time at Rebecca's request, and she was correct in asking for that.
When was the certificate of compliance issued?
There hasn't been a certificate of compliance issued for the original site yet. We are still doing
Okay,
the
that's okay.
last of the remaining work, so we haven't requested the certificate
Okay,
yet. We will be shortly. As soon as this work is done, we would ask for the certificate all at once.
Rebecca, what are your concerns, if any?
I would say that I would love to go through the standards and the stormwater management standards to ensure that you guys are all approving the stormwater management report that goes along with this plan.
But that doesn't have to do, again, that has to do with the prior filing, not with this.
What it has to do is that there was a change that you didn't.
I know, but shouldn't that be considered a change in the, again, I hate to be so semantic, a change in the prior filing, not in this filing.
Yes, it could have been an amendment to the other filing, and we had talked with Rebecca about the potential for amending the original order of conditions to sanction this work that we're here in front of you tonight, but it was decided that a new notice of intent was cleaner.
Can I add something?
Sure.
The original order of conditions that was issued did take into consideration that the drainage was gonna come out to Lake Street and not through the swale. So the only difference was that the stormwater management report did not reflect that change. But the order of conditions was issued based on the fact that the water was gonna come out to Lake Street. With respect to the stormwater standards, it really is not any different than what the commission, what was approved basically with the assumption, well, not approved, but submitted initially with the swale. So we didn't get any water quality treatment from the swale. All we were doing was discharging it in that direction because that's where it was always going. It was felt that it would be better to go around to Lake Street. So we did submit revised plans. Those were submitted to the commission. And the order of conditions was approved based on the drainage coming out to Lake Street and not across the swale. So all we're doing now is a new filing because there was a change to how the drainage in Lake Street was going to be handled. Rather than utilizing the existing hole in the culvert, we're actually proposing a new hole in the culvert And we're providing more detail into the construction sequence and the dewatering sequence that's going to occur. So this is a separate filing, but it's not any different than what the commission had approved in concept under the order of conditions for Foundry Street.
But we interrupted Rebecca, who was saying she would like to look at the performance standards.
Yeah, I was thinking that going through the stormwater management standards would be helpful. Because I don't think that you guys with the new design actually went through them. Or we can, this has to be continued anyway, so we can wait to hear what Bill Renault says.
Yeah.
You want to do that? That's fine. And in addition, we have to wait for DEP comments too. We don't have those either.
Or a file number.
Yeah, well, those, they usually do those together.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes.
Mhm.
So we're continuing till the next one regardless. So we can wait to see what those two things, what both Bill's comments and potentially if DEP has any comments, and then we can take it from there.
Can I ask a question? This is really, why is it that on the plan for the current filing, it shows the 18-inch pipe to be removed, and then it says 24 inches, yet there's no difference in size? Shouldn't there be like something, again, this is just a question, the plan I think is incorrect, because you can't, you're not replacing an 18-inch pipe with a 24-inch pipe and that they're the same size on the plan. I could be.
No, if you look at the scale of the drawing, it's very difficult to differentiate basically a pipe that's 3 inches on each side bigger.
Okay, so you're saying it's the difference between the continued line and the dash line. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yep.
And was the 24-inch pipe chosen for, is that something that you was just, with discussion with the EP?
Town engineer.
No, we went through the town engineer. At the time, it was Mike Collins.
Okay,
And what we did is basically a capacity analysis between the capacity of a 24-inch versus the 18 that's existing now. And he was satisfied that upgrading to a 24 would adequately handle the flow from the site.
because the flow from the site is going to be, am I correct? It will be significantly increased as a result of this, right?
Not net, not in net,
No,
because
the
it used to go through the swale.
Well-
It's more water in the pipe, but less water.
That's what I mean.
drain.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
pipe.
in that section of pipe. Yeah, in that section of pipe, there will be more water coming from the site. So that's why we increased it to a 24-inch pipe.
But that's really what I wanted to understand is that
Yeah.
the reason it was, is there, I'm just curious, has the capacity of the existing pipe up to now been an issue or I just ask out of curiosity whether that had been an issue in the past.
Well, I know it's extremely flat. It's basically
It
dead
remains so.
flat. So
Partially
it probably
clogged.
is more susceptible to sediment accumulation.
Right. No, I'm just curious I'm just wondering, I guess the question I'm asking is just whether, I just didn't know whether historically that pipe has presented problems in terms of not being able to, because it's so flat and because it has sediment in it to adequately drain prior to the construction, whether that has been a problem point or whether that was actually doing its job quite well. That's all. That was just I was just asking the question mostly out of curiosity to understand such that that were the case, then the extra 6 inches of diameter is really totally devoted to the increased flow and not to fix to do double duty of fixing a prior inadequacy and having increased flow. I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't know the history behind it.
Okay.
And I don't know, I'm not sure if the current town engineer is familiar with that as well, but possibly somebody in the DPW who has a little more history in the area would be
Okay.
able to answer that.
But Peter, to kind of answer your question, the new pipe will certainly handle the greater volume and, has a larger capacity because of the size and the fact there's no, sediment inside it.
On a temporary basis, it isn't itself filled with sediment.
But there'll be cleaner water coming into it also than under the
Oh,
current
that's it.
conditions.
That's the point well taken, is that it'll accumulate sediment perhaps more slowly.
Right, sediment should be trapped in those storm drains back on the site.
Is something that we should be focused on in terms of a maintenance plan for the pipe? Or that's the town, it's the town's, that's not, this is the town's issue. This isn't the applicant's issue at all. Right, okay.
Not on the street. We'll maintain the catch basins on the
No.
site. In fact, we checked
I know.
them today and they're clean.
No, I totally,
Yeah.
right.
We still have silk bags around the catch basins on site until all this work is done.
So should we have for ourselves, should we bring in, is this something where, I guess, Rebecca, have you been having conversations with the town engineer?
Only where I submitted the information to him and asked him to supply comments to us.
We have to wait till we get those comments.
Right.
Can I just ask a quick, if it's easy enough, would you guys be able to provide for the next meeting like a cross section of the stream where the culvert is and the pipe coming through with like the elevation of the land underwater, the bottom, and then how you're going to remove the sediment, where the pipe will come through, and the water level, just as a profile view, like a cross section, so we can look at it this way as opposed to looking at it this way?
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. That's what
we can do that to the extent that we have the information. As Mary mentioned earlier, it's difficult to determine the exact bottom of the concrete culvert, or if there is an actual concrete bottom to it, because of the amount of sediment there.
Okay.
So without going in and actually altering land underwater, we don't nearly know where the bottom of the culvert is.
All right, just best information to look at it this way so they can get an idea of poking through.
Well, I think we would need to know, what kind of flow is going to be going through that pipe, and what kind of scouring action is going to happen where it comes through the box culvert. How are you going to prepare for that?
What is the implication if this doesn't have a solid bottom? Are improvements going to need to be made?
I think it would have implications for how often the DPW cleaned it. I think if we would find when we're doing our aperture cutting that it was a concrete bottom, we would know what the volume of sediment was in it and what the loss of capacity was. And that might be meaningful to your DPW if they were thinking of, including it in their maintenance regime. In terms of habitat value, typically it's considered more valuable to have a non-concrete bottom, a naturalized bottom. In this particular stream, because of the accumulation of sediments and the urban nature of the watershed, I would assume that the sediments that have accumulated atop the natural surface are not conducive to wildlife, that I would think that they have a lot of gasoline residues and chemicals from the road, the salt from treating in the summer. I think that if this stream carried less water, there might be a shoulder that you could walk through if you were a small animal through this box culvert. At my visit out there, there was water, I would guess at least a foot deep all the way through the culvert, and there was no shoulder at all. There was a small shoulder outside of the culvert between the granite block walls and the flow path in July, but it was minimal. I would think at most times of the year, there's very little wildlife traffic. So in reality, I'm not sure there is a difference in this particular stream, but in general, you would prefer an earth bottom in a culvert.
Okay. I mean, conversely, if we're substantially increasing the volume going into that drain, are you worried about scouring or erosion of the bottom of that culvert if we're adding all this water? Would it need to be armored, or would it need to be solidified somehow to handle the increased capacity?
It's armored now because it's a concrete wall, and you've got this, I'm going to guess it's at least 6 inches, maybe a foot of sediment at the bottom of that culvert. When I went to the mouth of the culvert from the outside trying to get in, I couldn't pull my feet out. Do you know that it was deep? It was not like a couple of inches. So I'm not sure, you know, with that flatness of the pipe, that you're going to have the velocities that would expect scouring. I mean, maybe in a flash flood where you're having a huge torrential amount of water putting pressure on the system, there'd be some velocity coming in, but with the flat grades that are there, I'm not sure you're going to see water moving quickly enough to cause a problem.
Do you think we'll have that information by the next meeting, or is that not going to be done prior to the work? It's going to be done along with the work? I mean, would we be able to do a quick, you know, a hand auger and figure out if that is a solid bottom? Before the next meeting?
It's hard to get to the center of that stream because of the sediment accumulating. It's hard to get into the mouth of that culvert. I personally don't think it's safe. We will find out when we bore the hole through the side of the culvert, because that will give us a safe staging area to stand.
I think that information may be important, just so we can develop contingencies. So if we do run across, you know, a different situation during the work, we can make a, you know, we'll have the tools to make those decisions.
Well, we'll be working in the dry. That's what the dewatering plan is that Mark has submitted with this, that we intend to divert water from this work area so that it should be largely dry when we're working in it.
Okay. And those frac tanks, are those going to be sitting on Lake Street?
Mark, where's the frac tank sitting?
That's going to be in the strip of land owned by Foundry Street Lofts off to the side, up by drain manhole 1, across from Ballister Street. They won't be in Lake Street itself.
And the frac tank is actually a really good idea because it gives you several options. If it turns out that the sediments in this water are, you know, not settling out quickly enough, you can use a flocculant in the system. You know, you can hold it longer. You could arguably pump it out and take it off site for disposal. The tank is a really good product to be using in a site like this where there are unknowns.
Okay.
Any other questions? Rebecca, you have anything else?
Not right now, thanks.
All right, so obviously we need to continue. We have our next meeting on
Wait a
August
minute,
12th.
Bob.
Oh.
Rebecca was asking for a profile. So
Yeah.
you agree? Are they agreeable to that?
I will do the best I can to come up with something that accurately represents what we're going to do, to the extent that I can determine what the bottom of the culvert is and how deep it is. But we do expect that the pipe will be, you know, going into some of the sediment at the elevation that the sediment's at now. So we will be clearing away some of that. And with respect to the flow and the velocity, I just want to also mention that as this pipe, as the water builds up in the culvert, it also builds up in the 24-inch pipe and the existing 18-inch pipe now. So basically, with the water being so stagnant within the culvert, even if it's a foot deep, it's basically stagnant all the way back into the drain manholes up that we're going to be replacing. So that's going to drastically reduce any velocity that's coming in, because it's basically all those catch basins. It would be like discharging into a large pond. So it's all going to be part of a basically a pond system at that point. There really is not going to be any significant velocity.
It's really almost like the intersection of two streams, Mark. Is that what you're describing?
Not even that.
Like during one stream and then the natural stream?
Yeah, except the fact that there's very little velocity in the streams because everything is so flat. It
Right.
It just kind of pushes its way through.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anything else from anyone?
I think if we're adding water to that box culvert area, that it should be some type of a deep sump catch basin or a storm scepter or something to treat the water. I don't think we should be sending untreated water back into the brook.
Mark, can you emphasize again the deep sumps that are on site that do that treatment before the water ever gets into the 24?
Yeah, I didn't quite get that part of what when you were talking.
Mark can clarify that for us.
Yeah,
Well, the water coming from that we're adding into it has been treated to the extent practicable based on DEP standards. So all of the water that we're adding is significantly cleaner than what's going into the brook now from the site.
from the 24-inch that you're putting in. From your property, you're saying it's clean.
From that property, yes,
It's clean water.
yes.
Okay. Hmm.
I think the idea is perhaps that we don't need a deep sump at the point just before it discharges into the stream, because that function's been taken care of further.
Already gone through, yeah,
upstream in the-
multiple deep sumps
You're saying you actually treated it
on site.
on site
Right, it was treated on site before it got to this point.
because all the pavement and stuff around the building is how the water's gonna flow, right?
Yeah, it's the
It is
rooftop
finished.
it's the roof of the building and the pavement that's basically all discharging here.
But in its finished configuration, that same 24-inch drain line will now be taking drainage from the street as well, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So we will be adding some contaminants that are from from the street and traffic and other sources, right?
I wouldn't
that's
say
what-
adding, basically they're already going there now. So there's nothing we're not proposing to treat any of the water in Lake Street. We've already treated what we're
Contributing.
adding to the system, but we're not going to be treating anything that's in Lake Street. I think that it would be a good idea for the town to maybe add some oil hoods or something. If those are something that could be added to the system with it, given the configuration of the piping system that's there now.
I mean, it wouldn't require significant treatment. You're only talking about a small drainage area. I mean, what are you talking about what's the feasibility of including something in the system?
I would have to leave that up to Tim.
I mean,
There's going to be significant
it's
disruption
really,
there.
I think we're well outside the purview of what the town originally asked us to do. It can be discussed with Bill Renault to see where he's at with it, but
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it's
for
going
us,
to be significant interruption to the
Lake
street.
Street.
I assume it's going to be a pretty wide trench to get that line in there. I mean, there's going to be a lot of disruption already. I mean, it would be the perfect time to get something in there, whether, we can work something out with the town or something could be installed as part of this project. I think that would be beneficial.
Right, can I just ask a quick one? Are you asking about a storm scepter in Lake Street, or are you asking about a storm scepter on their property prior to getting to Lake Street?
No, in Lake Street to treat the
Okay.
portion of the drainage that's coming from Lake Street itself.
Okay.
And I do understand that it's already going in untreated, but if we're going through this effort, why not make that little extra effort to treat as much groundwater, as much stormwater as we can. Again, because of the significant disruption we're already imposing on that area.
And I don't think pavement is clean runoff.
Oh, definitely not.
And so they've got a paving area all the way around their building, and the roof runoff will be clean, but the rest of it's going to be contaminated.
Yeah, and I'm throwing that out there conceptually. So if you have some ideas you want to throw out at the next meeting, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
I mean, yes, there's a disruption to the street while the work is being done, but the work is being done to create an improvement to the drainage system on Lake Street at the request of the town. And so this is
Correct.
really
And
a
I agree.
request.
I think it's just an incremental effort to get
further.
Yeah. I think
No,
it's.
I understand.
Rebecca,
Actually,
maybe that's something you can mention to Bill when you talk to him.
Sure.
isn't the pipe increased in size to help carry the flow from 69 Foundry?
Yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not
As
all,
opposed to having it
not all,
run
it's not all
treated
the
in
town.
brook from the site
Allowing you
itself.
to get your building through.
Yeah, but the building is already, I mean, Jim, at this point, I mean, what is better? I mean, what is better for the conservation?
Well, what is better is to treat the water, to treat the,
Either way, if the pipe's too small, that's gotta have a whole different set of problems from a conservation standpoint, one would think.
well, I think that if the water could be cleaned, it should be cleaned.
Right, but we're talking about water not from the property, but water from Lake Street.
Yeah,
but
correct.
the water,
I mean, if you go to the strict interpretation of the regulation, probably not required, but what I'm saying is it's an incremental effort to get us, a good amount of water treatment for the runoff from Lake Street. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about, Frank. And that would be something that have to be done in conjunction with the town.
Correct.
So let me ask one more time, sorry. So you're thinking that if they put a storm scepter in Lake Street, then it'll treat not only their runoff, but also the runoff that's currently untreated, but in Lake Street. So you might as well put it at the end of the line and get both cases as opposed to, actually, I don't think there is a storm scepter, so there's no storm scepter, right?
Right. But adding a potential storm scepter.
Right, to catch both of them. So
Yeah,
That would be a
that's
significant
what,
improvement. I'm not saying that the water coming from the project needs additional treatment, although it's always beneficial, but again, it's just a small effort to make a huge improvement.
And the water from the project, the only treatment is the deep sump catch basin, right?
Correct. Deep sump catch basins with oil hoods and a reduction in the impervious area.
Off the top of your head, do you know what % TSS removal is just from the catch basins, the deep sump catch basins?
25%.
Yeah.
And it tends to be the larger sediments as opposed to the fines.
and with the flat elevation of the existing pipe, some of that sediment's trapped in the pipe itself, which will continue to happen even with the larger pipe. Okay,
If there are no other questions from the commission, I'd like to request a continuance of this public hearing until your next meeting of the commission.
We
No
have
other
to do that.
questions?
Yeah, we don't have a DEP number yet.
right,
Exactly.
okay. All right, so the next meeting is scheduled for August 12th.
Okay, we'll
And
be here.
Rebecca, 7 o'clock, does that work?
Yes, it does.
All right, you guys will be first up.
Yay.
All right. We thank everybody for their time and consideration tonight, and we'll see you on the 12th.
All right, good night, thank you.
Guys.
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you. All right, so what we have left is old and new business. Rebecca, you want to take them in order of listing?
Sure.
All right, DP 313-5324 Gumwood. Request for certificate of compliance.
Okay, so we were going to go through that process and have the presentation, but upon review, that was a superseding order of conditions. So the homeowner was directed to request a certificate of compliance through DEP, of which they received one. So we're all set.
Excellent. All right, next we have the review of landscaping plan for 26 Shady, which Rebecca did send around from Elaine.
I'll pull it up.
You want to share that for us?
Oh, do you want me to share it?
Yeah, you want to?
Sure. You have to find it.
I didn't have a chance to look at it. I know you sent the email out.
Give me a second.
I have to confess, when I heard the word plan, I thought it was a plan. But yet it's words. No
Plan should be
plan.
in quotes, plan.
No plan.
Nice, give me a second.
Very conceptual.
Okay, yeah, I just opened it up myself.
Oh, do you have it?
I don't have it on my screen. I have it looking at it on my phone.
Do you want me to do it?
Hold on.
I can grab it.
You're probably.
Can you put it on the screen, Frank?
I
Yeah,
can.
it's not actually a layout or a plan. It's description.
It's a Word file.
Oh, I got it.
Bob, are you listening? Oh, I just said that.
As I heard you say that, but I'm reiterating it for Peter or whoever made that question. Right.
All right.
The remedial-
Beat me.
the
I'm looking
remedial
at it
crowd.
myself, Teresa.
You
I
guys-
see it's a
you
Word
guys see that?
document.
Yeah.
I like to correct a typo in the third line. Unless you really mean fist.
Fifth landscaping.
It could be a new kind of landscaping. I don't know.
That was my favorite part of the landscape.
Very angry landscape.
I think it's warranted at this point.
And that third line, I didn't know. I did have a chance to take a quick peek at this. Inside. What side?
I think he means inside yard.
But are there two side yards? So what side?
Okay,
Good question.
I'll get that clarified.
I also, further on down, project should include purchase trees. I'm not quite sure what that means.
Maybe you do something like this.
He had proposed taking cuttings of different things in the property. And Jim had told him from the start he would have, so that he had a financial commitment in this, he would have to purchase some trees to be planted. Not just, getting cuttings from what's there already. So that he has an actual stake in doing this.
Okay.
And where was this, Judy? I missed that when I was typing.
It's on the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh bullet. You see where purchase is underlined?
Yes.
Because he wanted to just take clippings of things, and some of the stuff will replant, but not a lot of what's out there won't.
Yeah, and the fourth bullet says that the cuttings can be taken from rear property, right?
Right. There are only a few things, like the pussy willow would replant, but other than that, there isn't a lot that will replant. And he did do, I guess, some of the willow stakes. Elaine had mentioned that, and she said it had some sprouts on it.
So I guess I'm a little bit confused as to what this was supposed to do. But it then says budget should be determined, then items and locations selected. So I guess the question is, this is like an outline of first steps, I think. And then is he supposed to then come back with more? I guess, because this left me wanting more.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't seem like what was really discussed, because this looks like it's more driven by him, what he'll choose. But I don't think that's really the route to go. I mean, this has been more than a year and a half now. So I think
We definitely need finality to this. This
right,
is.
but I think the best course of
Such
action,
an inordinate amount of time on this one enforcement order. It's
Right.
almost.
right, but I think the best course of action is to give him an actual plan and say, these are the plantings we've
Right.
suggested.
And that's what I thought.
This is what you're going to do. And it's
Right.
going to be every 3 months, we're going to come out and look at it, and you have to do something. There has to be something.
And that's what I thought was the charge.
It was.
Yeah. Because I agree, the thing about the budget should be determined, that seems like that's an opportunity for future discussion, and there isn't anymore. It's done. There's a beginning and an end. And the part about this due to budget cost, this will be a multi-year project that we should we should just specify what we view as a timetable.
So, and again, it's hard to ask Elaine to do something when she's not here. So
That's the best time.
I thought that was,
That's the price you pay. That's the price you pay.
I would say yes to someone other than Elaine, but not. And I guess the question is, doesn't Elaine have enough information to put that together? I thought I was going to see something that I thought that Elaine and Ken put together in terms of a plan.
Yeah, with the map, starting with the map.
And then you see stuff on there. Seen that's a technical term, stuff. Seen plantings on that plan. That's what I thought was going to happen. But
I have a question. These bullets, right? Was this taken with the owner himself, or was this his bullets, Elaine's bullet, as well as ours that we recommended?
I think it's both. No.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure
But
this out.
I think that what we were, I think we were all agreeing that the sensible thing to do is to have a map,
Right.
to have the Ken map to show the area where, to show the lines and to say on the one side of the lines, one, it's not going to be disturbed other than
Right.
for restorative purposes. No
Right.
swing sets, no, picnic tables, no.
Right.
Um,
But I'm saying is with these bullets.
But also
though-
detail what we're looking for, what we need.
Right.
And
Oh,
then,
right,
that's right. And there would be,
No,
and then there would be
right.
some sort of a restoration plan that would be
Right.
sort of superimposed on that.
With a schedule.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the part about the budget was, that's why it was going to be staged.
Right.
So that,
So can someone convey that to Elaine?
Well, these are all suggestions.
Well, that's not a plan then. That's right.
Yeah,
Right, that's what I'm
exactly.
saying.
Yeah.
These
Yeah,
are all
no.
suggestions.
I think what we need to do is, can I ask this? At this point, he's given us his suggestions. If we have a plan with more comments and more back and forth, this will go on indefinitely. We have been incredibly patient in receiving input, and I think we need to say what we think this should be and say what it will be.
right, so here's the list of plantings that Elaine suggested. So can I just take this list and say, okay, by October, you'll have the river birches planted. You can throw in he said he already had blueberry bushes. He can throw them in now. None of this stuff is prohibitively expensive to begin with. And if he at least would make some effort with the river birches, start with that, put them frame a view along the line that Ken has developed. All the plantings are right here. This can be given to him and say, in 3 months, we want this, and 3 months after that, we want this, and we're gonna have pictures along the way to prove that you're doing it.
Where is he going to put them?
Along that line that Ken put on the map.
We need a plan to show that.
Yeah, we should be on a plan. Ken's map with, I want the plan to show a line, a clear line, and then on one side, and then to indicate on one side of the line, it's not going to be disturbed other than for restoration purposes.
The planting plans usually show where they are, and then there's a
Yes, of
schedule.
course.
installation,
Yes.
That's the whole
PC
purpose of the
list.
plan.
Right. So do we have the capability of generating that ourselves?
That's a good question.
Might actually be quicker if we do it ourselves.
Exactly.
Or we're gonna be talking about it for, 20
The next
minutes.
5 years.
10 meetings.
right.
No, and the whole thing is, why are we doing this? And doing it to accommodate, to accommodate the landowner.
Well, to force his hand to say, this is the plan, you do it, or it's going to DEP.
Right.
This is really
Typically,
his
he'd have a
last shot.
civil engineer, they'd
Right.
present a planting plan to us, we'd approve it. And that's how it all worked. We're doing the work here.
Exactly.
Even a landscaper, can take, a basic site, you can take a picture and then put things on a picture, or take a rough site plan and do a landscaping plan. That's not very difficult.
He could do it. It isn't difficult.
Right.
But he's not going to do it.
Right.
It doesn't
That's
have to be
why,
to scale. It can be.
no, but If he hasn't done it yet, he's not going to do it. That's why I think his hand has to be forced. Here's the plan. This is the expectation, and you have 3 months to start it.
Yep.
Do we have any landscaper that might want to do this pro bono and donate his time to show where to put this on the plan? I don't know.
We already facilitated that and it was refused.
Again, Ken?
Yeah, we already got a landscaper to help him. Maneuvered a landscaper to help him, and that fell through. He fought back on it, if you remember.
Well, he had his own landscape companies.
Right.
You know, we have pictures of the trucks with the name.
Right, that's right. Well, what if, I guess the question is this, and maybe this is too simple. If we take I'll just call it Ken, not
The existing plan, the existing plan.
Okay, we can't call it the Ken plan. The existing plan, literally, what if, I'm not saying it'd be me because I'm not good at this. What if Elaine just show on that plan where they should go?
Yes,
Just like little X's.
exactly. That's all that's needed.
And little X's, and then maybe X's denotes river birch, and a little circle denotes something else.
And beneath each will say which month they have to be planted. That's all.
So I'm going to repeat. Can we ask Elaine to do that?
Yes.
So the Concom is paying for his landscaping plan because we do pay Elaine's time.
I know,
So-
I agree. And we're doing it, I don't know, because we're good guys and gals.
I mean, we could do what DEP does and charge triple what her hourly rate is. Or just tell him, hey, we're gonna go to a landscaper to prepare this if you don't, and we're gonna pass the bill along. I don't know. I don't know how else to do it. Maybe Elaine will.
Or we could turn the whole thing over to DEP. That would do it.
I think if there's no response to this, I think that's how we'll do
We
it.
have to stop this.
Yeah.
It's like
And I think,
we're being abused.
right, and that should be in the next correspondence saying, this is your last chance. Here you go. Next steps, DEP, and have fun with it.
I agree.
I agree.
So we'll try, Rebecca, you'll talk to Elaine maybe about putting that little thing, I mean, again, it shouldn't take very long.
What is Ken's plan or Ken's map or
The
plan?
existing plan, Rebecca.
I'm sorry, the what?
Ken doesn't like to have to be called Ken's plan, the existing plan.
What information is on the existing plan?
It's just the wetlands line as determined by the measurements Jimmy and Elaine took on one of their site visits.
Can you email that to me?
Yeah, I'm looking for it now frantically. It's been shown on a bunch of meetings, but I'm looking for it.
You'll find it. Ken.
Yeah. Can you email it to me though?
You bet.
Is that all right with you?
Yeah, we had an aerial, but I think this one was just a Mass GIS
Okay.
simplified version, but I'm looking for it.
Okay. So I had wetlands and
It takes into account the field measurements from building corners.
and that was Jim and Elaine.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. You'll have something for your next meeting.
Thank you, Rebecca.
All right, any more discussion on that?
Yeah, is
No.
there any way to have him join the next meeting so we can tell him this stuff too? Or is
I
that
think it should just go to him in a letter because he
Yeah,
can come in and talk around it again.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. It's easier just to give it to them.
oh, I see. Okay.
He's run out of chances at this point.
Let me ask one final question. In the event that this plan is prepared relatively quickly, are you guys comfortable with the letter going out, either written by myself or Elaine, that says you are required to adhere to this plan? You have a couple of months to do so. We expect pictures along the way. And if we don't see any progress within a certain amount of time, we expect that we will send this over to DEP. Are you guys comfortable if we take care of that before the next,
Yeah.
meeting, which is in 2 weeks, or do you want to wait the 2 weeks?
No, that's
Well,
great.
No, that's
Let
fine.
us send a letter around before you
Sure.
issue
Yeah,
it,
that's
though.
true.
And, yeah.
That's true.
Can I,
Yeah.
can I just suggest that Rebecca or Elaine actually take the pictures rather than relying on him to provide?
Oh, that's a good
pictures?
idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
We want our legal counsel to review the letter before it goes out.
Oh,
Oh, is that the plan?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you blow that up at all? Just because it'll be easier to do the little X's and O's on it. If it's bigger, it's a little bit small now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It sounds like Elaine's doing it, so I think that's a question for Elaine.
Does someone have the measurements? The
Yes.
actual,
Yeah, I have them.
or can you send me those too?
You betcha.
Thank you.
Just step away for 2 minutes. I will be right back. I have someone at the door.
All righty.
Are you good, Rebecca?
We're good.
Okay. All right. Rebecca's favorite topic, review status of Lake Quinnipiac Zone A.
Oh, God. All right, I don't have a lot of new information for you guys, to be honest. I do, did I ever forward you the email from DEP that talked about the changes?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
we talked about them at the last meeting also.
yeah,
So
I mean, it's a pretty big deal, but I don't really see where we can do anything about it.
We had lots of questions about, like, grandfathered projects and
It's
what does
not
this
in there.
mean to activities currently occurring, and
There's none of that in there.
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're, it's a really big deal. I don't know how they're going to implement such a drastic change that will affect so many people, businesses, town departments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and not have some type of maybe incremental or phasing in of this. I don't know, but that is not what it says.
Yeah, to turn this into Crystal Lake type protection overnight, how can they do that?
I mean, supposedly though, this has been around since 2019.
Right. That's the scary part.
So just to clarify, we don't have any new information because it sounded like they were just weeks away from getting us more information. Is that DEP talk weeks away?
No, I don't actually think they're looking to give us any more information. I think that,
Or make a decision, I guess, or a determination.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Or make a decision or a determination. It seemed like they were ready to do something about it.
I think that where we stand is that they've changed the regulations. It was put online in 2019. They identified, Wakefield's not the only place. They identified new areas that they think should be, have stricter regulation. They put it out there in 2019. They accepted comments. You can still have comments now, but she said that that would only apply to amendments because I think.
No, any comments will be addressed in amendments, but they will take comments, but they're not doing anything about it now, right? And
Well, I think the amendment meaning next time around.
right, no, I understand.
Yeah.
Did the town send anything back to them?
I know Bill Renault has been talking to them a little bit about this.
'Cause again, this came up in connection with the work done for the
Veterans Field.
again, the pickleball courts, right, exactly, that's right.
Yes, that's how it came up. We had never heard of it until that point. Well, Bill and I had never heard of it. And, I mean, they're saying it's been floating around, but I don't have any notification and files anywhere. Bill didn't have any. I just don't have a lot of information. I don't know, because it was 2019. I don't know at the time if someone was notified, like, I don't know if Mike Collins received information. I can't fathom that it wouldn't have been circulated. So I just feel like they're covered by just putting it on the website or the Federal Register or something like that. Maybe, I don't know, wherever they put them out there when they're gonna change the rates.
Yeah, there'd have to be some sort of phased approach. I mean, you're talking no fishing, no canoeing, no kayaking. Essentially, you'd have to treat the whole area as a watershed for drinking water, a reservoir.
You guys see the map?
No, I don't think
I've
so.
seen the map, yeah.
I have it up. I might have it up. Hold on. Too many things up. Oh, those are the regulations. Hold on.
All the passive recreation that occurs on the lake would have to stop.
I think so.
Yep,
Could we
just
walk?
like Crystal Lake, there's no fishing, no canoeing, nothing.
Well, but I mean, I think it's a little bit different, but only because that's a direct source. This is a tributary to a source. But there's certainly going to be, what I actually found really remarkable was the amount of testing and criteria that will need to be met for water quality purposes. And I don't know how that's going to happen.
Yeah,
Maybe we
Yeah.
clean up the lake.
yeah, there's some issues.
State rep and state senator and have them kind of, again, I feel like it may not be our thing to do, but I feel like the town needs to do that. I don't know.
I wonder if town council is aware of this. I mean,
I
they
know
would be the ones that would be a direct channel to the state rep.
I do know that Steve Mayo is aware of it.
Yeah.
Well, Steve Mayo is not Tom Mullen.
Oh, council?
No,
or
I mean,
council?
Board of Selectmen,
Oh,
Right.
you mean, you
Yeah,
mean Board of
not the
Selectmen.
actual town council.
I'm sorry, very confusing, sorry.
It is,
I
it is.
don't like it. I mean, I guess I
don't
assume
know.
that
I'm sorry.
information was relayed, but
The body formerly known as Board of Selectmen.
All right,
Correct.
so they do know about it.
it's.
I don't know. It hasn't come up at their meetings. That's what I'm surprised about. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
something like this is so drastic, it would almost be like, all of a sudden, all the zoning is instantly changed overnight to residential.
So should we do a letter to the, I don't know, I mean, to the Board of, the town council, CIL, I mean, is that not needed, Rebecca? Probably
I
not.
don't know. This is actually really new territory for me too. I don't really know. I guess I keep thinking that there's going to be like, departments are going to get together and talk about what this means. I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose I could spearhead that. I don't typically take that kind of role at the town hall, but like I said, I walked into Steve's office one day. He knew about it. I talked to Bill. We're kind of waiting to hear back a little bit from DEP because we've had some conversations. Other than that, that's really all the information I have, other than just going online myself.
So it sounds like if maybe they're not worried that something will happen imminently, right?
Well, but it did happen with the project behind Veterans Field, right? That's just where the whole thing
Yeah,
came
you're
up.
right.
With
There
the
was
rain,
one there.
you know,
It's a stop on that, right? That's been held up.
It got held up because they said that you can't
Okay.
have that. And we were like, what are you talking about? This isn't a zone A. And that's when everything started. But the thing is, for Vets Field, that project should be grandfathered in the old regulations based on the submittal date. And I believe that's going to be the case. But so I think that project is certainly going to move forward under the assumption that Lake Quannapowa is not a zone A, but I don't know what that's going to mean in a couple months. Like, do you have to remove it in a couple months? Do you have to meet additional requirements in a couple months? Which is why I think everything is just sitting there, because we don't know what that means. It doesn't say in the regulations anything about grandfathering or incremental approaches to things, or it just says these are the standards that you need to meet.
Can you talk about variances?
So I think there is a variance section. I think there is a variance section. Hold on, I have it somewhere. Right here. So the regs that it's listed in are the 314 CMR 4. Do you guys have that? Did I send you that? So 4.034, it says are variances. Says the department may remove a national goal that is not an existing use, designate a segment as partial use, or grant a variance to authorize a discharge, provided the applicant describes that, la, 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 there's a section on it. I don't know how they'll use that. I just, this is, like I said, I just don't know how they'll regulate that. I have no idea.
You
I
would
was-
think
I keep hoping that
DEP would like send a rider around to kind of explain this to commissions and towns,
Right.
You would
Can
think.
you request
right?
that?
Or there'd be some sort of like seminar or
Right.
Q&A session or something.
Maybe that will happen when the regulations are actually adopted.
Yeah, but then it's already started.
I know, of course, I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it doesn't hurt for me to call. Sometimes I get a call back, sometimes I don't. I can email and just, I can ask them to come to one of our meetings and explain it. They won't, but we can ask them. I don't know.
We can say that the lake is, that really is a huge part of the identity of town. I mean,
That's
it's
right.
a thing to say. This is not just a little something in a corner of town.
Yep.
How they have it is, it says, right now for the Saugus River, it says from the source to the Saugus River Dam is a Class A, outstanding resource water. And then from the outlet of the dam to the Saugus Iron Works is a Class B.
Class B, huh?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Wow.
And then you can see that change. Can I screen share? Bob, can I screen share?
It's from the
Go ahead,
source.
yeah, you can share.
Do you say from the, just out of curiosity, when you say from the source, is that the same as saying, from,
What about it?
like, what is the difference? What is the distance between Wakefield and Burlington? From Wakefield to Burlington, are you talking about from the far end of Wakefield? I mean, I guess what I'm saying is from that, is this fair to say that they're including that all of that the source?
Is Lake
Yeah.
Quannapowitt.
Now,
A little bit upstream, and some of the
Are you talking about, because you could say from the source, that the dam at the top of the lake is, that would be that's the entrance to the source. So from that entrance to the source, I don't know. Just
We've got it, yeah, here comes the drawing.
Wasn't Elaine gonna look into it a little bit too?
yes, Elaine, my notes the last time said Elaine is gonna do more. Very
Yeah. I don't really know what there is to be done other than to have someone recommend how we can tackle this, to give us recommendations of the things that come through now. How do we handle these things and what are we required?
Elaine was gonna look into the issues related to it, or the impacts related to the designation. Just to clarify for us kind of what's gonna happen when it happens.
Was that in the July 8th minutes?
Do you guys,
Wasn't it? I mean,
do you see the map?
Yes,
Yeah.
So it shows, and Peter, I think, was this what you were asking, whether or not sort of upstream of it is also considered, and at what point? do
I'm
they-
just curious whether it would encompass, when you say from the source, whether it encompasses the entire source or not. That's what I was getting at, really.
Yeah, see how it is taking in this stream here and this section here that into Lake Quannapowitt.
Yeah, okay.
And then as it exits Lake Quannapowitt.
So Lake Quannapowitt entirely, it would be entirely under the Class A waterway. That's the.
And so interestingly enough, in addition, anything within this hatched area, which I don't even know how I don't know how to do that.
It's
Like,
crazy.
I don't know how to, so on the NOI, they have, a box that checks off whether or not your project is near an outstanding resource water. So for these people that you can
Yeah.
see in here, the answer is now yes.
Right.
Now, whether or not that's a big deal for their projects, I haven't had to do that yet. So I don't actually know what it means. It's that box has never been checked yes in Wakefield. It's always
well,
been
if they shut down Bill's, utility project, then they'll take a good look and shut down any other major projects, I would assume.
Yeah. It changes to be, where's the dam? Oh, right here. So this is where it changes from a class where it's like, kind of changes colors. Goes from like this light grayish, purplish to this area here. I think that's where it changes from,
Class B.
A to a B.
I think that's where it changes from A to B.
So B is less protection or more?
Correct. Well, I think that's right.
So the
what
closer
it's-
you get to the source of drinking water, the less protection?
I don't know, it says to the dam. I don't really know. Because it says it goes to, what is it, Hawks Pond? Where's Hawks Pond? Is that this?
Saugus, right? Or Lynn,
Right here.
Wakefield?
Oh, so you have. So this is B, sorry, and this is A. Around
Yeah,
that.
that makes sense.
This is A. I'm not sure why there's a, up here. It's both A and B overlapping in here. I don't know what that means. This map stinks. Regardless, I'm sure that they will supply us with something that is, hopefully we're able to zoom in and actually go right to, specific lots, hopefully, like they can do with FEMA in the floodplain.
There was something wrong, as you said, Rebecca, of contacting DEP and saying, I'm a conservation agent in Wakefield. Can you just explain I was trying to understand what this will mean to the town and how these pre-existing uses, will be affected by this.
Okay. I asked a little bit, but I don't think I had the right person to ask. As she said, yes, those are very good questions and I don't know. So I might need to investigate a little bit more of who, I got bounced around a little bit when I'm asking about who's the right person to answer the question. So I might have to just, maybe Anna Mayer, who I think is the one who replied, and I forwarded you the email. I might have to just go back to her. Okay. Sorry, I don't have more information or clarity. I'm just not really sure.
This map, it's a PDF that you have?
No, it's online. You can look at it.
Oh yeah, I see the URL.
I can send you the link if you want. You want me to do that, you guys?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
send the link, please.
I mean, it's kind of cool because there's other stuff you can, it's,
Right.
yeah. All right. So many of these links now.
So I have a question. If we get any NOIs, do we have to take this into consideration?
Yeah.
Depending on where?
Yep. Well, not
No.
yet, because the regulations are not yet, but when they come
Not
out.
yet.
Oh, yeah.
When will they, and also they're still in discussion that hasn't passed yet. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
So they have to
And
be.
you know when?
They
What's-
will be this summer.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they get like, they must get reviewed by like the Attorney General or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
At the point where they are, I don't really know. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, because how it will overlap with you guys more is that there are certain requirements in the Wetland Protection Act that have to do with outstanding resource waters. So for instance, how it got caught, which is like stormwater management, and there's certain things you can do in certain places. So that's how it's going to end up getting triggered. It'll be a little bit new. We haven't done it before. I think you just have to meet more different requirements.
Okay.
All right, anything else on that? All right, next up is the review vote revised standard conditions. Didn't we take care of that last meeting?
I thought we did.
Yeah,
So I had some notes from Elaine. Give me a sec, I'm gonna look. I had a couple of questions I wanted to run by you guys also, if you don't mind. and I'm going to find. I apologize for being like the worst at this. I had it up, I don't know where it went. Give me 1 second. I sent it to Elaine today. So just look it
We'll send Jimmy over to help you out.
up. It just takes me a moment. My computer's like slow, so. And according to, I think what Elaine told me is that you guys didn't vote on it, right?
We had some questions on a couple of conditions.
Yeah, Elaine was gonna check on some things.
Okay.
Yeah, condition 40,
Right, I have a note. We're gonna make that into 2 conditions, Elaine's check. Did you do any of that checking? Again, it's very hard when you, Elaine, I know I sound like a broken record, switch meetings.
You know,
A little bit of a lack of continuity.
do you see that?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. So if you guys don't mind, I'd like to go through, I know you went through it with her and I'll do it super quick, but I just want to make sure that you guys are getting what you want to get. Okay. And some of this is to Elaine, for instance. I can't remember the last time, not that one in particular, but like the last time that somebody submitted to me the names of the successors when something was transferred. But that, some of that was just for Elaine and I changed this also, the language, because it was repeated a number of different times that the condition exists in perpetuity. It's like 3 times in 1 paragraph. So I just moved it all down to the end. And that's just kind of a formatting issue, but you guys still kind of have to vote if that's okay for me to change that for you guys. And when a new owner comes and purchases something and there's an operation and maintenance plan, this condition says that the new owner's acknowledgement of the receipt of the plan shall be sent to the commission. I've never gotten one of those. It is in there. So I'm asking whether or not is that something that you want to have, or do you want to leave it in there in case something happens, we have the backup of it's in there. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of this philosophy where we have a lot of conditions and I think things get lost. And whether or not we keep them in there because the intention is that in the event something goes wrong, we're covered, that's fine. Or are you guys looking for, in my file, for me to have a copy of a new owner's operation and maintenance plan? Although that sounds great and I would love that, tracking that down would be a nightmare for Elaine and I. We just don't work that many hours. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to I just want to make sure that we have the best and most streamlined and that we're nailing everything that you guys want to get and trying to cover as much as we can cover. So the 29, and I can send this to you guys and you can think about it.
So in 29,
Yep.
Who would be responsible for providing the operation and maintenance plan to the new owner?
Well, it would be the current owner, but what I highlighted a little bit more was that it's a great idea for them to send us a copy of this acknowledgement. I don't think I've ever gotten one of those.
Probably
ever.
not.
I've never had one. Now, that's not to say yet we have to delete it. We could delete it just to be more streamlined. We can leave it in case something ever happens. You say, well, you were supposed to do this and you didn't. I don't know. I'm trying to get your feel on it.
I mean, oftentimes when a property's transferred, the new owners aren't even aware of an order of conditions until the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Is that in perpetuity that they maintain the infiltration system?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't have to tackle it now. I mean, you guys can think on it.
I think it makes sense to leave it in there
Me
Okay.
too.
to cover
Yeah.
us.
Okay. And that's kind of what I wanted from you guys, is to figure out how much of this you want to keep in there. But I also want you to know that routinely, I don't
Yeah.
get that. And if you wanted me to start asking for it, I can do that, or checking to make sure, but I haven't gotten it and it hasn't been a problem yet either. So,
Well, yeah, the onus is on them to do it.
yeah, okay. All right, so I just changed some formatting. All right, so let's do this one. I asked Elaine about this.
I'm sorry, it was 29. We say the same thing like twice a lot of times. So I would just delete the excess. Well, you did already. I'm sorry, you deleted it. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I noticed the same thing. It just gets confusing. And I think the more confusing this is, the less likely people who are receiving it are actually.
Yeah, I agree. In general, the fewer words and the clearer, the better.
Right.
Hey, so here's a
Yeah.
question for I guess Teresa. Is it possible even for a property to be sold and a new owner's, the title search isn't done properly or cleanly and they don't even know there's an order of conditions? Can that even happen?
It's pretty rare that you don't find an order of conditions. It would have to be filed under the wrong book. I mean, because there's a reference back to the owner's deed. So it's pretty rare that you don't find an order of conditions.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? It doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
Unless there's a mistake in filing, which doesn't happen that often, you find them.
Okay, as long as the order of conditions was registered.
Right. And then, but this says it has to be in the certificate of compliance too. And certificate of compliance is also, recorded. So, anyway.
Okay. All right, sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
Just again, these are all the pre-construction type of things. I think Elaine and I have just recently talked about developing a pre-construction checklist that we're going to go through to make sure that we have the same things for every site that we go to, and we have proof information, dates, whatever, that everything that's listed here is actually getting either checked or received. So for instance, I had said this to Elaine as well, we're supposed to be informed of whoever's responsible. I don't really remember the last time I got that either. Inevitably, you kind of know because a lot of times the developer is going to be responsible or the homeowner. So it's not super important that we have a specific thing. But again, just trying to go through to be clear on this.
I think it was probably for like big projects where you got supervisors.
We don't have that many big subdivisions with multiple.
No, we haven't had any.
So, and I do think that's probably a remnant of that. And Elaine and I actually think of the same thing.
Yeah.
Another point is this photographs depicting the project along the wetland boundary before work sets in. Is that still something you guys want to receive?
No, that might be advantageous, so.
I think it's great. We haven't been doing it.
Yeah.
But we haven't been requiring them to submit them to us. That's what I should be saying.
Right, we often have our own pictures.
Yep. All right. So,
it's going to be hard for you to enforce that, Rebecca, right? Because you have to take stock, like have official notice of all the things going on. So you wouldn't be able to enforce this. But just because you can't enforce it doesn't mean it shouldn't be in there.
well, I mean, you can't enforce it because it says prior to the commencement, you shall do this. So, I mean, technically, we could say you can't start until this has been done.
But I'm saying you'd have to know they were starting.
Well, they have to tell us when they're starting because that's the pre-construction meeting to
Okay.
review the erosion controls. So I think at that point in time, you can have everything. And you're right. I think maybe at that point in time, we could take the pictures for
Right.
whoever's out there to install. That's a
Right.
good idea. All right, so I'll make sure that's done that way. I talked to Elaine about I haven't seen trees. I haven't been out in a while though. She does most of this, which is why a lot of these notes are to her. But strapping the trees and then the tree fund. Have you guys gotten anything recently or?
We changed it. We weren't calling it a tree fund anymore, were we?
Habitat replacement,
So should that be the language be changed in this?
yes.
Yes, yep.
What is it called?
Habitat replacement fund.
So is that where where if they for the tree on the tree policy, if they don't replace with trees, the habitat they goes into they pay money and it goes into that fund?
Yes.
It's called a habitat replacement fund.
That's the new name.
And why was that name chosen? Because it may not be trees.
Right, to be more descriptive of what you're trying to achieve.
Okay.
I think, wasn't it also if you have a fund for trees, then you need to use it for trees? And we wanted to use it for habitat.
Right, no, that makes, yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's what.
I think that's funny. You were saying to make it more descriptive. I was thinking to make it, the goal is to make it less descriptive.
Both.
Hey, couple conditions back, that condition about planting trees to be saved.
What number?
What was like 35 strapping boards.
Yep.
So there's other methods now of protecting trees.
Okay.
I've seen this large corrugated, like half pipe put
Right.
around the
Okay.
entire base of the tree
Mhm.
instead of planking.
Around the
I
base.
don't
of
know
the
if
tree.
anybody else has seen that, but it's actually corrugated pipe, like cut in half
Okay.
and strapped around the tree,
Well, wait a minute.
facing the direction of work.
So what you're saying is either the boards or something sufficiently appropriate
Yes.
for protection. Okay, we can change that
Yeah,
language.
but can I ask a question? If that, if you're gonna use something corrugated, how tall is it? 8
You go up
feet?
as high as your potential work zone, whether it's
What if
8,
what if the
10.
tree isn't straight? But
This stuff is flexible. It's plastic. It's only half a corrugated pipe.
It's strapped to the tree, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
wherever
there's
the tree goes, it's strapped to it.
Yeah, I saw it on the lake last weekend, a large project going on, and they strapped every tree with this corrugated pipe that facing the work zone, only that side of the tree. I'm like, wow, that's a great idea.
All right, we'll just clarify that they
Yep.
can do the boards or something, like we just said.
Right.
I probably won't say corrugated pipe. I'll just say some other method. That's
Yeah, that's fine.
okay. Where were we? Number 38. There's this.
Hey, back up 1 second.
Yeah.
Because at the last meeting, I was charged with looking at the tree removal policy.
Okay.
So the tree removal policy talks about number 36, any tree over 6 inches in diameter, but then they put it, we say when measured 4 foot off the ground.
Right.
So that's not in number 36. Should we add that in 36?
Yeah, they should be in sync. They should say the same thing.
Or either that or we delete it from the tree policy, but.
It should be added to this condition.
I know, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. Okay,
Right.
to show you, I did look at the tree policy, which I'll have comments on it in a minute.
All right.
That's a good one. Thank you. Yeah, and that's why going over this stuff every now and again is kind of good because it gets lost and we change things and it's not always consistent.
So how do we, oh, go ahead.
Has
No,
$10
go ahead.
has the $10 per linear foot changed to keep up with the times, inflation?
Price of lumber today,
Right.
$10 doesn't get you a 2x4.
Mm.
Of course, that's not what this fund is for, but still. I'm just curious, do we know that?
I don't think that's changed.
It hasn't changed.
And we can change it.
12?
1250.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, that's all.
Yeah.
I'm just-
When was this created? Maybe that's a good way to figure it out. When was this created?
The tree policy 2017.
No, the amount.
It's
It's
the same
$10.
price.
I don't know when that condition was.
That was before that.
Nope.
Yeah.
We took it from Winchester.
That's been around prior to 2017.
Right, yes.
I don't know how long. I mean, I could figure out how long.
Yeah, so maybe.
So maybe I could try to look around and whether or not I can ask Elena if they updated the price in Winchester.
I don't think they have.
They haven't.
Oh,
Okay.
no?
No,
Oh,
I we don't have like a big deal. If $10 is fine, then $10.
Yeah. I'm just.
So Elena and I talked a lot about the erosion control and the hay bales situation. So this one references an old guidance. I would like to take that out. that 1997.
It is pretty
erosion
old,
control.
yeah.
What does it say?
What
Said
it,
barrier may consist of a row of double-staked hay bales backed by a filter fabric fence installed in accordance with ENSG guidelines for urban and suburban areas. So
Okay.
we're specifying a particular type of erosion control only.
Okay.
Oh,
And-
all right.
and similarly, Elaine and I talked about this old hay bale requirement that says you have to have 10 extra on hand at all
50 bales?
times.
Yeah, we'll take that out.
Well, what we were talking about doing maybe is putting that over and having it under the conditions special to this project, because if you got a subdivision or a large project or steep
Right.
steps, that's probably makes sense.
Right, but
But most of these homeowners,
right, it
they
should
don't
be,
do it anyway.
it should be flexible enough so that you can get the appropriate number of emergency hay bales, because putting 50, that's a big expense, 50 hay bales.
Not
for-
only that, I was saying to Elaine today, I don't recall ever going out to a site that has a row of hay bales installed after a storm and there being a significant erosion control into a wetland.
Right,
I mean, I've seen little stuff here or there, but I don't remember any emergency situations.
right.
Yeah, most of our projects have been fairly flat or, minimal changes in elevation.
We have
Right.
had just a couple of projects that really, we needed the hay bales. So you're not
Yeah.
gonna take out the double staked hay bales, right? We want to keep that in there. But we want
Well-
to put it on an option for some of the other.
Well, don't we want to state something like appropriate erosion controls?
A lot of times
Well,
they want to use like
Yeah,
the
but it's
silt
what we
sock.
consider appropriate, because they want to put these socks down, and unless you're going on flat ground, I don't think they offer much protection. There's some areas that you actually really need the hay bales and the silt fence. But I mean, that's a discretionary thing, I think, that we should decide based on the project.
Well, that's why it should be general enough that
Yeah,
we'll review
right,
and, determine whether it's appropriate or not.
right, because a lot of people will want to put those just silt socks down, and
But I agree, we should
I don't see them
Right.
working very well.
strike the specific controls that are mentioned here
Yeah,
and reword it.
reword that one.
What is an E and SC barrier? What is that?
Erosion.
Erosion and sediment
Erosion
control guidelines.
So shouldn't we just spell that out?
So are you removing that reference or are you updating it?
Who are you
Uh,
talking to?
Remove the
ENS.
direction of using only the row of double staked hay bales, changing the
Right.
wording to a way that appropriate erosion and sediment controls, will be used.
Sorry, I'm talking about the reference to the actual guidance for the guidelines.
Well, what was the matter with the guidelines? How wrong could they be? It's only hay bales.
But Jimmy, what if that's not the right application?
So those guidelines only talk about hay bales. is
But
what-
all we're saying here is hay bales and silt fence.
We say that other measures may be approved if specifically noted in a plan or something like that.
Mhm,
Because a lot of
Yeah.
times they'll come in and they'll write it on a plan. And
Yeah,
So we'll just say alternative measures shall be specifically approved in the project plans.
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But it.
Well, if you just strike it, it says an erosion sediment
says
control
that.
barrier shall be placed between all project activities and wetlands.
Say it again, Bob?
The statement as it is, prior to any soil disturbance on the site, an erosion and sediment control barrier shall be placed between all project activities and wetland areas. It shall be inspected and approved in writing by the commission. It's good, I'd say, just as it is.
Well, it says said barrier may consist of. Doesn't say it has to. It may.
Maybe we say shall unless otherwise approved.
Right, yes, shall is the right word.
Well, there is a final statement to that,
Right, it says
condition.
that.
or of another perimeter control, BMP, if previously approved in writing.
What does BMP stand for?
That's
Best
measured.
management practice.
So I would really recommend that initials not be used, that you spell out. what
Yes,
you-
yes, I agree.
Okay.
Because not everybody knows what the initials are.
Okay.
So wait a minute, how do we end up with this one?
Yeah, how do we end up with it? There's
All right,
like-
so, well, let me answer back to Ken. Yes, I would like to delete the reference from 1997 because I don't even think I have that guideline anymore.
Okay,
At the time when, I think that came from Christine, and that was kind of a big deal, the erosion control. Now it's very, very standard. Most people do it for their projects all the time. So I think how we left it, hold on a sec, let me look. I would like to delete that, and then we have the other appropriate or alternative measures that will be spelled out, no initials. And I somehow, and you'll look at this one more time because I'm gonna clean it up the way I'm gonna propose it, and then we'll relook at it with no comments on it or anything, probably the next time, but, and so I think there's two things here. One is whatever erosion control barrier is approved needs to be done before construction. This is the pre-construction, and we'll leave it like that. The second piece is whatever erosion control BMP is chosen will be reviewed and approved upon individual each time for each project. So then that condition will be moved over to conditions for this project.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay.
you know, the hay bales are good too, because they are used as a limit of work, and they seem to hold up pretty well for that use.
They can be, but I just don't think we should be requiring it in every case.
Right, well, the hay bales, right.
It's too
Yeah, no.
specific.
No, I know.
They have
but-
seats.
Yeah, but can we, is it okay to have it as a general rule that we would strike versus a rule that we would have to
Well,
address?
I think we should make it general enough where we don't have to keep striking stuff every time we issue an
Well,
order.
But the alternative is, I mean, my thought might be that it, you know, sometimes when you do form documents, you're better off having everything in there and striking than you are having stuff you use most of the time and then having to remote, do we do this? You know, what are the ones that we sometimes do or sometimes don't? I'm
Well,
just
we're gonna be reviewing the erosion controls on every project, no matter what, because they're gonna present them in their plan. So we're gonna see what the proposal is. That's our opportunity to offer suggestions or, you know, modify. But if we leave it general enough, they're gonna come back to us with their recommendations for us to approve or not.
I think also, as you guys were reviewing these conditions, and what brought it to mind was the snow storage one, where sometimes 50 is good, sometimes it's not, sometimes, you know, to get that condition. So as we were going through this process, that particular condition that talks about the snow storage, and this one would be in the same category, and what we were thinking of doing is moving these back to the special conditions for this project. But they would be first, and that each time that you guys discuss special conditions, you would clarify whether or not hay bales or 50 feet of snow storage. Do you know what I mean? So you're gonna get used to it because you're gonna be,
I like that.
Clean up every time.
Your point is you're creating a process by which if we take it out of the general order, we always follow a process of going, you know, having a title for every one of the special conditions, you know, snow storage, no need, hay bales, no need. I like that. I like that. Because it creates a process by which we would go for, we would talk about we would go through the topics of special conditions and rule them out.
Right.
And I guess the thing that we have to remember though is that we, like, every time we vote on orders of conditions, we have to have the special conditions before us, so we know which ones to include, because we can't just say, gee, are there any special conditions?
Well, that's right. But that's something we can just have sort of as like a little something that we all, you know.
Right.
But
Well,
they have to have erosion and sediment control, period. That's not negotiable. You
Right.
don't have to have snow storage on site. You know, so there are things they have to have that we shouldn't have to have a special condition for. We
No,
will
I understand.
review it.
But
You
if
know,
we
the
just had a
erosion
menu of
control.
special conditions that we just with a topic line, we could just go through very quickly and just say, I don't see anything on this list that we have to worry about. Or I see, you know, 2, 4, and 7 is something we should bring up.
I do think that all of these conditions that are before the special conditions don't really ever get reviewed. And so something that I think that you guys have discussed about potentially altering part of the project should probably be taken away from this and pushed toward the section that we actually discuss. I was thinking, even if we go to, excuse my scrolling, if we go down here to conditions special to this project, the first 2 or 3 under that list, under that heading rather, is always going to be hay bales or other approved, and always going to be snow storage at this certain distance. Do you know, like they'll always be there, and then you can modify those as you need to, or any other conditions that you think you always want to have them, but in some circumstances it might be challenging, so you would change them a little bit each time.
I think there are that would fall under that category. I just don't think this is one of them.
You don't think erosion control is, or you don't think?
I don't think erosion control is, but I think there are ones, to your point, that would fall into this, you know, conditions special to this project. Snow storage, yes, being one of them.
Or like storage of fuel, not including gas from your lawnmower or something.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So you just want, so you want to leave, do you want to leave the erosion control one where it is and how it is?
I would leave it there and I would just make it more general.
Yep.
But I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, Bob, if you look at it, you don't need to make it more general because it says, job description and approved in writing, such area may consist of. Doesn't
Right.
say or, and it says, or of another control. So it doesn't, again, I think Rebecca's point was you should take a reference to the E and SC guidelines.
All right, so what I could do is I'm going to leave it there, and I'm only going to take out the reference to the 1997 guidelines. Everything else is going to stay the same.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Rebecca, do they have a guideline for 2020 or something like that? Something a little more recent, or is?
I don't know of any.
Actually, I found that document on the DEP's website, so it's still
Is
there.
it still the same one, 1997?
Yeah, it says revised 2000 or reprint May 2003.
All right.
So maybe we keep it.
Yeah.
Okay. So number 38, we're doing nothing. Right?
We're doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
But Rebecca, thanks for bringing it up.
We
problem.
understand it completely now.
Don't
Exactly.
Wait a minute.
What about 39?
Wait a minute, what happened to 36?
36?
We're gonna add the exact verbiage from the
The cheaper.
tree fund.
To say it's 6 inches in diameter and when measured 4 feet off the ground.
Okay,
After,
And it'll be the other fund, the
Yeah.
habitat replacement.
so do you want to keep this amount will be donated to the commission tree fund to be used?
yeah, to the commission.
Do you want to keep that there? Because I
No,
thought,
it's gonna say habitat. Habitat.
Replacement fund.
so it's going to say this amount will be donated to the commission's habitat replacement fund?
Yes.
Is it the commission's?
Well, I'm just reading this other thing and I.
No, I
put
know,
that-
I'm asking, is it the commission's?
It is the
It's-
commission's.
Yeah, they're the only ones who have access to it. You
Excellent,
are the only ones who have access to it.
that's power.
Do we have any money in that fund right now?
Yes.
That's-
Yes.
Oh, yeah? How much? Just curious.
Judy, do you
Can't
know?
disclose.
$8.97.
No, it,
How much?
it's a pretty good amount. Because people were pretty good about doing it. I mean, it's.
Oh,
a
So when
condition.
do we decide, how do we decide when to use it?
When they take down trees that are in a jurisdictional area that are larger than 6 inches in
No, no, no,
diameter and
no.
don't replant.
When do we use?
Oh,
When do we
when-
use the money?
well, it was just used recently for Oxbow, I think.
No, oh, you're saying the Lovis Ave one?
Yes,
Okay, sorry.
yeah, not the vote, no.
Okay, sorry.
So we used our money to help an applicant pay for, I'm just trying to understand.
No. The commission wanted the vernal pool certified.
Oh, so we use that, I'm sorry. So right,
Yes,
So, right, so we use it for our purposes.
correct.
Yes, that's perfect. That's great.
All right, where are we back to? 39?
I was gonna tell you about that habitat replacement fund one. 5,800.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
The right one.
That'll
Yeah.
pay for the bronze statue of Jimmy.
Mhm.
Good night at
Reminds
Artichoke.
me, there used to be another fund in there. Do you remember? Oh, never mind. I won't talk about this now.
There's a Conservation Commission fund that has, I think, $20,000 in it.
That was, it's been around forever, right?
It was
Yes,
an earmark every year at the town meeting.
Okay, something else. All right. Are you guys okay if I delete the stack of 10 hay bales, or do you want that to be moved to a special conditions to be considered at each project, or leave it?
Take
How
it
do we
out.
come up with
I
10?
would strike it because first of all, we may not even be using hay bales.
Okay,
Would you want to say, like, assign a percentage? I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, like maybe 10% or 5% of the total amount of hay bales shall be kept on hand for emergencies? Does that even make sense? Or an appropriate amount? I don't know.
You must maintain, you must have 3/4 of a hay bale.
Mhm.
They're counted in flakes. You could say in 4 flakes. That's how they section them.
I mean, I don't know, and I know that in theory, it sounds like the right thing to do, but I can just tell you that I've never, ever, ever gone to a site and said, oh my God, put up those extra hay bales right now.
I would strike it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think so
Too
too.
specific.
I mean, I guess theoretically, they'd be required to clean up after themselves anyway.
Yeah,
Well, that doesn't happen. They leave their hay bales in and silt fence and
That's
leave.
true. Yeah.
I can only think of one project where it was good that he had the extra hay bales. So I'd take it out.
I think
Okay.
Lovis Ave would benefit from some extras. There's some really steep slopes over there.
Yeah, that's true.
It's already in their order of conditions.
I know.
Mm.
Moving
All
on.
right, so we good striking that?
All right, number 40, and I believe that Elaine was kind of looking into some of this and you guys were talking about this. First and foremost, I think it's in the wrong section.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, second of all, you guys wanted to split it into 2. You
Right.
wanted to have a pesticide one and a fertilizer one.
Yep.
Okay, now for the pesticide one, are you interested in having them submit to you if they're going to use it, what product they're going to use? Or are we not interested in that? As long as they have someone licensed by the state, that's the end of that.
Good question.
I mean, you're not gonna find homeowners getting a license applicated from the state in most cases.
I thought they didn't have to be licensed.
I thought they don't if it's residential, but like Heron Pond, I think they have to have a licensed applicator. Because it's a larger area.
So I guess we need to understand what the law is on that.
Okay.
We may not be conforming to it.
All right, I don't know that.
So I think 40 needs some investigation.
Okay,
Yeah, I have my notes from last time. Elaine to check what is state law, so I don't know.
pesticide. Oh, and then the fertilizer one, I'm going to move these for the next time that you see them, and then we can still go through and finesse the language.
Well, hang on for 1 second, Rebecca. So on 40, any applicator, let's see. Or within a resource area shall be used in conformity with the product label in state law. So it's not saying pesticides cannot be used, they just must be used properly.
That was Rebecca's question, that you also.
Whereas the other one says no fertilizer within 25 feet. This one is saying essentially you can use pesticides as long as they're used appropriately and according to state law.
Good point. Do you want to say, except you can't use those in 25 feet either? To be consistent?
I don't know, because again, what does the label say and what does the law say? Somebody sprays, somebody wipes out a, I don't know, a red ant mound with Raid. They just used a pesticide potentially with 100 feet.
But
Bob, that was the question we wanted Elaine to look into. That was the exact question between the state law versus just what's on the label.
Yes.
let me ask though, 25 no disturb zone. I think it's reasonable to say within that area that you're not going to apply pesticides or fertilizers.
What if you have termites and your house is on the edge of that 25 foot?
Are there houses on the, well, yeah, I guess there is now.
Yeah, there is, it will be,
Okay,
or there are.
I guess I wasn't thinking like that,
I
but,
think I am probably.
okay, well, that's good.
Bob,
So,
I don't have termites, but what if I did?
right,
I can't exterminate them?
what does your house do within 25 feet? I don't know.
yeah, but you wouldn't be spraying the ground, well, don't you spray your house or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah.
Spray the foundation. People get those foundations and perimeters sprayed all the time.
Yeah, they spray the outside. The
Yes,
perimeter.
definitely they do.
I think that's why we separated it out.
Okay, exterior.
We have 1,000 violations right now in Wakefield.
Right now in Brent Circle.
No, not a Brand Circle. Fortunately, I don't have termites.
But do people do they, so other than their foundation, what would be a use of a pesticide within 25 feet, other than a foundation spray?
What if you have some sort of like, I don't know, say red ant infestation in your yard, or people get
There's a hornet's nest. What
the
about hornet's
mosquito
nest
and
in the
tick
tree?
spraying. People do the
Right.
mosquito and tick spraying now in their properties.
Like
Should you
Chemlon
be
and
doing
those
that
companies.
within 25 feet of a wetland though?
Certainly could be any place. There's water everywhere now. They come knocking on your door. Do you want your yard sprayed for fleas and ticks?
Right. yeah.
Mosquitoes and ticks.
But I think that's what I'm asking is, yes, that does happen. However, is that something that is appropriate within 25 feet of a water source?
It depends. According to this, shall be used in conformity with the product label and state law. So it may be allowable.
Yeah.
We need some answers on this one.
More answers for 40, but it's okay to move it. All right. Carrying on. Nothing in the during construction. These are Elaine's notes that you guys talked about, some of this stuff. I think these are the ones that she went over with you guys before and you said it's okay as is. Here's her notes in regard to number 55, which is what we talked about, underground storage of fuel, well, above ground as well, and how to, like, if someone has a shed and they're gonna store
Gallon of gas.
their lawnmower. So let me ask this, can you put a volume onto it? So you can say something like no storage greater than, I don't know what those gas cans are, but 10 gallons? No.
Two
they're
and a half
not.
gallons.
And
5
gallons.
gallons, 10 gallons, 10.
That'd do you a little while.
So, I mean, is that something reasonable to say other than any container greater than 5 gallons that's used for routine home?
A total of,
Say it?
a total of, less than a total of.
I don't know. I mean, somebody's got a tractor, a lawn tractor. They may have like a
Still using
10 gallon
5
tank or
gallon,
something.
Yeah.
Jimmy, what do you have for your Bobcat?
I had diesel.
Where was that stored?
Can we
I
tie
didn't
it
see
to
that on
the
list. I
the
didn't see that on
reportable quantity for release under the MCP, which is, you can say less than 10 gallons.
Less than
Yeah.
10 gallons.
Yeah, because at 10 gallons, you need to report it to the state.
That's a good idea. Frank.
Okay, I like that too.
But on 55, do you want to say 25 feet, no storage?
I don't know if Wakefield there's a lot of homes that have backyards
In sheds.
that are less than 25 feet.
But if in their shed they have no more than 10 gallons, is it likely that someone would have more than 10 gallons?
How much does a lawn tractor hold? How many gallons?
I mean, yeah, but well, you might have a 2-gallon container. I mean, what do they usually sell when they're 2
the-
gallon?
The
Big
1, 2 and a
ones
half,
are
5,
like,
10.
Judy's got a whole field to mow. What does she get?
A 5
got-
gallon, it's plenty. It's heavy. It's too heavy, bigger than that. To
They
try
got
to
like
pour
a
into
pumps
one
built
home.
onto them.
10
they're on
gallons
wheels.
is a lot to store.
There are wheels with pumps now. They are. You get the dolly ones that are right on wheels.
Those are 14 gallons. I'm just looking at one right now.
Yeah. Everybody has them like at the lake. Everybody's got these things to add fuel, to their boats and stuff.
I mean, that's the sizes you're gonna get, is the size that people are, the size of the containers people are buying.
Right.
Right, 5 and 10.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's probably about right.
So they can't store more than 10 gallons within 25 feet. Yes.
I like it.
Of course, if 5 gallons spilled into the wetland, Frank, what would that do? Would the EPA be out here and,
5 gallons?
yeah,
Well, yeah, because you might have a different condition, but under normal circumstances, if it's 10 gallons or more, you would need to report it. But if it's, I mean, if you spill it in a wetland, that's a different situation, and that's probably a 2-hour reporting condition, I would think, and you need to report to DEP right away.
mhm.
It really depends.
But we're talking about in the buffer, right?
Yeah,
Not the
either,
rest
yeah,
of the
yeah, the
wetland.
buffer, that's true. The buffer, I mean, is 2 gallons gonna have an impact on the wetland?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to determine. I
It's
mean,
going to be absorbed most likely into the soil
yeah, I mean,
and not go very far for that.
yeah, so maybe you want to limit, I mean, 10 gallons is a lot of fuel to spill in I would
You
think.
could have a 5-gallon tank in the shed and 5 gallons in your tractor.
But
or
with all
more.
the toys you got, you probably need a pumping station.
Now, this is specifically mentioning storage in containers or above ground or below ground. So I don't
Yeah,
think it's appropriate taking into account what's in your car or what's in a Bobcat or whatever.
yeah. I think more like 5 gallon.
I'm fine with it.
I don't know.
Yeah, but most people have more than one tank as well, right? I mean, I have 2 5-gallons.
Yeah, I mean, I have I have 2.5 gallon containers. I don't
What
care.
about,
Because
what
I don't
about
want the gas,
propane tanks?
I don't want the gas that to be sitting around that long. I want to use it up.
do propane tanks fall into this category? Get a couple 30-pound tanks of propane?
Is propane a hazardous substance?
That's gonna get into the air. We're not.
Frank,
Yeah.
is propane a hazardous substance? Frank,
It's, I mean, it's not usually a liquid. I mean, once it hits the atmosphere, it turns to gas.
so what's the answer to my question?
What was the question?
Oh, it doesn't make any difference because it's gas. I'm sorry. Right, sorry.
Is it a hazardous substance is the question, because it says fuel oil, gas, or other hazardous substance or pollutants.
That was my question. Thank you, Ken.
What if we said there just shouldn't be any gas or stuff stored? Let me see. Do you know about kind of fuel?
Why don't I just say fuel?
Well, in this
I
case,
think the way it's written is fine the way it is.
it says no
The-
above ground or underground storage. Above ground, no above ground storage.
Within 100.
No, within not 100 feet. You
So
want
Jay,
it
that
within-
means your
Storage at
1
100.
gallon of gas is storage. And you know what? In addition to that gallon of gas, you probably have a quart of oil, a quart of brake fluid, another quart of power steering fluid.
I would, one's just as enforceable as the other, just about nothing as far as enforcement. So
You go look
I
at
would-
somebody's
I would
garage and all
almost-
these things added up. Who knows how many gallons?
Who's gonna tell on someone?
What's the conclusion?
I think I think it's good the way it is. Because either way, I don't think you can enforce it.
Yeah, but within 100 feet?
Make it 25 feet.
So all I'm
25 is
doing
more
is changing
reasonable.
100 to 25.
I wouldn't put a 5 or 10 gallon limit on it. I just leave it
Okay.
blank.
They just changed 100, just what you said, Rebecca.
Yeah,
All right, so
100 to 25, and also to move this under the perpetual conditions.
Yes.
So just remember, anybody who has a shed could be in violation of this right now.
I know that, that's true, and they are, and they most likely are,
Yes.
but it's like trying to stop people from putting leaves in the wetlands. It's like, I don't know, you can say don't do it, but what are the chances?
Moving on.
So what did we say, 25 feet? Was that the final verdict?
Yes, that
Yep,
is
changed
fine.
125.
Okay.
125?
No,
Oh,
it's
my
125.
Oh, okay.
Number 57.
I gotta go outside and get my gas cans out of my shed.
Ken, grab your oil, your brake fluid, your power steering fluid, any
Put 'em in
cans of
Jimmy's
raid.
yard.
Throw it all down the storm drain.
Quick, flush it.
Bring it to Brand Circle.
Judy's got a big field, you can dispose all of it in.
She's got a brook too. We can get it to float down in Melrose.
It'll
Wow.
end up in somebody else's yard.
It'd be in Melrose, perfect.
That would- Correct, that's what it should move to the end for special conditions. Because we may want this to be only like 25 feet.
Right,
Yeah, so this is what we were talking about before having number
Yep.
50. So we got rid of the erosion control one, and we're not putting the there's some other one I can't remember. But 57, we're gonna move to be
If you-
changed according to the project. So under the special conditions, it will always be I think it's always gonna be the first one under the special conditions. And what I can do is for the template of the conditions, I can put like a line to be filled in, so you guys know that we always have to do it per each time. Do you want to do that?
And
Sure.
and what will vary is whether we say 100 or 25 feet or whatever, right?
So I'm gonna leave it as in the template, it's gonna be blank to be filled in each time.
Blank feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, so just the next 158 is just moving, again, these perpetual conditions type of situation. Number 59. That's been around forever. Do we need that?
How many times do we have earthen embankments?
I don't think I've ever referred to that condition ever.
Would we ever allow that in a filing, unless there were, it was anchored or it was stabilized appropriately? I mean, you wouldn't just end up with one. It would all be in your plan, right? I mean, oh yeah, we didn't do that right, so now we have a 2-to-1 embankment. I mean, it wouldn't be in accordance with the project plan, right?
Yeah, I don't know how that got in there. I don't remember.
Delete it.
Can we delete it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how that got there.
I mean, could that be a stockpile maybe? Because it says,
No, that's already covered. Stockpiling of
right,
stuff is covered elsewhere.
because the question's appropriate. Is it during construction or is it in perpetuity? You can never have an embankment.
That's right. It's such a bizarre condition.
It's very specific.
I don't know where it came from.
Okay.
Great. We're gonna wish we had it back in there. No on-site wells for irrigation.
Last time we questioned whether it should be 100 feet or not.
Okay, that's what that was. No wells for irrigation shall be within 100 feet.
Yeah, don't wells fall under the Board of Health?
Wells for irrigation. I've never seen one of the, I don't think.
I
we've
don't think
ever had
wells
one.
for irrigation do.
If you want to water your garden, you could sink a well, get groundwater to water your garden theoretically, or,
Right.
some of these water tables are so close to the surface that it wouldn't be difficult to do that.
Especially with the new pricing on the water bills.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we leave it in there because I think you can totally alter the wetland if you all of a sudden, I mean, you could actually put a well in a wetland area, in a buffer zone or near a wetland and use it for upland irrigation.
Right.
So
Right.
we're good with 100 feet?
I think 100 feet's pretty safe.
Okay.
And that's part of that condition belongs in a project that we're just reviewed. Like, I don't disagree that that could happen. I'm just saying that this is a condition for projects that come before us.
I
That
agree.
seems to me to be something that a neighbor would call and say, oh, by the way, and then we have to look into that. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we can leave it if you want to. Again, it's one of the ones that I don't remember exactly how it got in there, although I do remember someone talking about having by the railroad tracks, I think.
Well, you know something, there is a lot of people that have shallow wells and they're not reported to the town because I don't think it's required. And I mean, they use it to water their gardens and stuff, so what are you saying? They're not gonna be able to put,
But it won't apply to them. This only applies to somebody who has a project in front of you. Boundary Street
Oh.
or Bellevue. It just says that they can't do it.
For anybody who already has one, is grandfather.
oh, okay.
It's not even that. It's anyone who already has one. We know nothing about it.
Well, first of all, if they do that within a buffer zone, they should be without coming to us anyway, right? They're all within a buffer zone.
Well,
I mean,
Well,
at least
they're
a
not-
request for a determination of applicability at a very minimum.
Yeah,
Right.
they're not gonna come before us.
I know. They should, but they won't.
Yeah, right. I'm just wondering why this is a condition that we're putting onto a person who has just filed with us.
What? You go outside?
Because we think it's a good idea.
Do we think it's a good idea
um,
to be applied to a project that's getting an order of conditions? I think that's the difference. Yes, I think it's a good idea.
I mean,
But
I can
whether or
see
not,
I can see someone who just bought a house, bought a piece of land, built a house.
Got their first
time
water
living in
bill
Wakefield, they get their first water bill,
for the summer,
and then they say, okay, we need to put a well in.
right? I bet people do it all the time.
probably, but even if it is in their order of conditions, they're not reading all this crap.
I know, but
That's true.
I know.
we should leave it.
You know what? And even if they did this, if they're that close to a resource area, the water's gonna make its way right back into the resource area. It's gonna drain right back
Like
in.
I said, they could potentially use it in an upland location.
Possible. That would require some engineering.
A pump.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any harm. It's hard to police. I think that's your
But
point.
a lot of these things are hard to police, though.
I just think it's unnecessary. And with the goal of trying to streamline and trying to have people pay more attention to the ones that are applicable. That's my thought. We can certainly leave it in, it's just one, but
so what are you saying, Rebecca? You want to delete it?
Yes, that's what you
it's
said.
superfluous, I think.
I think I would be okay with deleting this.
I don't disagree.
I don't think it's something we would have a hard time enforcing it. I don't know. And I don't know if that situation would ever occur that we actually alter the resource area. I
Yeah,
think-
most of the people who would be able to sink a well that close are in a very high water table to begin with.
Not really. I mean, my neighbor's got one in there and he's less than 100 feet away.
How far down do you
Really?
go?
He went down, I think, 300 feet.
Really?
Oh,
Wow,
wow, that's deep.
wow.
Well, then he's not pulling from the resource area. He's hitting the underwater stream or something.
No, it's water travels under.
Yeah, but 300 feet down,
You're
Yeah.
probably not impacting the
Yeah,
wetland.
you're not impacting a wetland 300 feet down.
No, I mean, that's, you, to draw down around, a well has a drawdown curve. You could never, you could never reach the full potential of what you could draw out of that well. I mean, it extends out in a radius around the point that you're pumping from, but I don't think that on the fringe that you'd be, lowering the water table. It'd take a lot of water to do that.
Right, no, you're not gonna.
So
I'm okay if we strike it.
I am too.
Anybody else?
I agree.
And I know people have, I know plenty of people that have shallow wells that pump like 18, 20 feet and they water their gardens with it and stuff like that. And I've never seen it. be
So
a
Jimmy, let me ask, is your neighbor's name Peter?
No, wrong neighbor. Wrong neighbor.
Hey, come on.
I have a comment on 62.
Wait, what happened? Where are we? Was 61? 61, I was gonna move a little bit too, out of the construction. And I was gonna put that to special, and then again, you can modify it as needed.
Okay,
So 62, the applicant is required to apply for certificate of compliance within 90 days of completion of the project.
Yep.
Would delete to clear the property title. We don't care about their title. We want them to apply.
You know what you should say? A certificate of compliance will not be issued until all hay bale barriers are removed, because I've yet to, I've yet to have one taken out.
well,
Actually, not the hay bale itself, but it's more the fabric fence.
yeah, erosion controls removed.
Right,
Yeah, we still have a filter fabric fence here from 25 years ago.
Right.
That's a new.
Wait, what? So you want me to add in under condition 62 that they're required, that they,
they removed all, not hay
The
bales,
62
but all,
just says you have to file for one within 90 days. What you're requesting, Jim, is another whole condition that,
I'm throwing it in there now just because I want to make sure something's said about it.
there is something somewhere about it. Do you want to put it in the erosion control section?
I definitely want to tie it, don't want to tie it to the certificate of compliance, because that's the thing that people want in the end.
Sometimes, and sometimes we have to force them to get it.
well, Jimmy, but theoretically, all these things have to be done before a certificate of compliance is issued. So, I mean, if it's already in there if it's already in there as a requirement to be removed,
Yeah,
you don't need to say it again.
Well, then that should be a point and inspected at the time when there's a site inspection to, when they request the certificate of compliance, someone's supposed to go out and check to make sure that it is in compliance. So
right,
that should be part of the inspection, is to make sure that the erosion control stuff is out.
right.
Rebecca, where in here does it say that the erosion control should be removed?
I don't remember, but I do remember seeing it somewhere.
Is this a Word document?
Yeah,
To do a find?
I could, but all the erosion control stuff is right here.
Mhm. Is that a bad thing from a conservation standpoint to have the erosion control stuff still in there?
The fabric, yeah, because of,
Oh, yeah, if it's a plastic barrier, it's never gonna,
Right.
erode or, I mean,
yeah, the hay bales
down.
disappear.
It might be in the DEP generic ones. I could check.
but I think it's a good point Jimmy's making.
Okay, so what do you,
We've seen it over and over. The hay bales break down, the stakes stay behind with the silt fence.
Yeah, and I guess what I was getting at is that we love barriers between that delineate, areas where you can do stuff versus areas where you can't. And somehow, you get something for that, maybe. That's what I'm getting at, really.
Yeah, but this case, it's no longer needed, and it's just
I understand that, but
it's
I
an
understand.
eyesore and
It's a
blocks
pollutant,
wildlife.
it's a pollutant. It's a pollutant, it's a plastic barrier, it pollutes. It should be disposed of properly.
Okay.
so would you like me to add in number 64 that says, prior to the issuance, they have to demonstrate that has been removed or something to that effect? Or
Yeah,
at the
Well,
site
if it's
inspection?
only if it's plastic, not if it's the silk sock.
Right. I don't think the silk socks are biodegradable either, are they?
Yeah.
There's no blanket statement anywhere saying that everything has to be removed.
It might be, I have seen it, so it might be in the DEP generic ones. Let me look right now. That's the full, I think. I can't remember.
I mean, the stakes are pressure treated, they last forever. Silt fence lasts forever.
I mean, the hay itself disappears.
Right.
And the stakes that aren't pressure treated, they last quite a while. They'll last 30 years too. But at least they're organic. It's that plastic, barrier that just sticks around forever.
Yeah, silt fence. And
I
it's
mean,
dug
we've
in.
gone
it's
out there
dug
on
in.
sidewalks and seen stuff from, that's how we found the old lines, to establish, check with a new line. You go out there and the fabric is still there from the
Yeah.
old time.
I can show you some from 25 years ago, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Well,
probably-
now
You
Jim,
probably
now
got
you're
some in
telling
your
me there's-
backyard, Bob.
that's-
No, but there is some in this neighborhood.
I'm reading the DEP ones right now.
And then the effort to get it out after years
I know,
it's just,
I
you have to
know.
disturb, all kinds of
Trees are
growth.
growing through it. And,
Yeah, it's tough.
yeah.
All right, I don't see it. So I'll, because you're not gonna vote on this tonight. So, because I'm gonna edit it one more time, get the last remaining information, and then it should be hopefully finished for the next one. So I'll figure out how to insert that somewhere and I'll highlight it so that you guys can review it.
Okay.
Hey, we skipped over a bunch, didn't we?
Yeah, because I don't think there was any, I hadn't proposed any changes in there. Is it the during construction?
Well, no, but just right here on this page, I see a note about 2-foot contour.
Oh, we haven't gotten there yet, sorry.
Okay,
We were at 62.
all right.
And I'm I'm ending the sentence after the word project.
Thank you.
Let me write that about the removing the,
I think you need to change 62 entirely.
Yeah, do we want to say within 90 days?
I think that's the DEP thing.
It is the DEP requirement.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're consistent, which is why I was gonna reference it. It should
okay.
be referenced there in accordance with also DEP number, blah, 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 blah. Is there something else you guys want?
Okay, no,
That's
guess that-
okay.
I guess that makes sense.
I just looked at the regulation. It just says, upon completion of the work described in a final order, but not later than the 3-year term, the applicant shall request in writing the issuance of a certificate of compliance. It doesn't tie it to a number of days. And I searched for 90 and there's no 90-day requirement in the act itself. I don't know if there's another requirement somewhere else.
You mean in the act or the regs?
I'm sorry, the regs.
I'm sorry.
But that's fine. Maybe that just draws attention that they do need to do it because, without that little reminder,
Yeah.
they'll just let it slide. I mean, that almost becomes a bylaw at that point, right?
Well, it's not enforceable, I guess. There you go.
All right, so do you want to take out the 90 days?
No. Well,
I mean,
it-
If we say it, it's enforceable, right?
Mhm.
No?
I don't think so.
If they agree to the order,
Yeah, if they don't appeal it, then isn't that kind of by them sort of agreeing to it if they don't appeal it?
it basically becomes a contract, right?
That's the way I look at it. This is an agreement.
I'd say leave it in. Doesn't hurt.
Okay. So then there was the letter C, which is the post-construction photographs.
But hang on, right above that,
Yeah, what's that above it?
2-foot contours, we've required 6-inch contours in some cases.
We required more tighter than that sometimes even.
All right, so you want to put or as
What was that in
otherwise
relation-
specified or something to that effect?
Yeah, I don't want to limit it to 2-foot because we've
Right.
definitely gone well below that, 1 foot and 6-inch even.
For an as-built.
Yeah,
Okay, so what do you want me to write?
Put minimum?
But you also want the opportunity to request something of greater detail, right?
Correct. We had cases, I remember it was the apartments right for Water Street, Falidi,
Yeah,
and we went down to 6 inches to see.
we went down, but we went down like, I think 3 and.
Yeah, 3 inches
We
to
sent the
see.
lane out there again because we were trying to find a path for the water to reach.
Right, we found it.
Yeah,
So it does say at a minimum and as applicable to the project.
yeah, it is, okay.
Where?
The beginning of the sentence.
2 sets of field survey, prepared sign stamped. At a minimum.
You probably want to specify an elevation, you know, a contour, because normally you wouldn't go. I mean, 1 foot contours is pretty tight. Hmm.
So what do we normally get? Is 2 foot typical that we're getting these days? Or is it 1 foot?
I think it depends on the project.
So how much slope you have on a project.
Yeah. Just trying to remember the most recent projects. You know, how flat they are or not.
You know, the planning board requires as-built too. I wonder what they have. I'm pretty sure they require as-built. I mean, I wonder what they put in for a contour.
I can tell you that I had my property surveyed and I was provided with a 2 foot contour.
2 foot contour?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm thinking that, like this thing talks about certain areas, you might want a tighter tolerance. Like if there's man-made structures that are important to retain water, you might want to, you know, make sure that your 2 foot contour might be too far apart. I don't know. But I mean, it shouldn't apply to everything, I guess is what I'm saying. Because if we saw what the planning board had, then we could probably just see if it's sufficient for our needs as well. And you're gonna get it anyways on the planning board as well.
Well, I mean, to Ken or Frank's point, it does say the as-built plan shall include at a minimum and as applicable to the project.
Yeah,
So
Right.
we're certainly,
but they talk about inverts and, you know, there's a lot of information there.
so maybe instead of an and 2 foot contours and appropriate contour elevations or something to that effect. And requested
Yeah,
contour elevations. How
You
about
want
that?
a prompt for a special condition if we want something more, finer than that?
you know, and what is in the back of my mind is something like if we had a retention area, well, that's volume, you know, the volume is what's important for us there, right? So the better the contours they take, or the tighter the contours, the closer they're gonna get to an accurate volume. So those are the things that would be important for us.
But that's not a blanket typical thing that you would
No,
require.
right, that's true. I don't know if you could specify certain areas.
I mean, this is talking about the as-built. We've certainly required it during the evaluation on the notice. I don't know if we've gone back and specified we wanted those same contours on the as-built or not, like at, the project we're talking about, Jimmy.
Yeah,
We had it on the filing, we got down to the whatever 3-inch contours, but don't know if the as-built ended up with it.
when you think about it, I can only think of one project where they actually put in a retention area, because most people don't want the retention areas. They want the culvert
Buried.
chamber so they can grade their yards. So maybe that's overkill. Maybe it's okay the way it is. I can't.
That might be one we just have to change as a special condition,
Yeah.
or just reword it to say appropriate requested contour elevations.
We just have to remember to request it.
Mm.
Why not just say 2-foot contour elevations? I mean, again, unless otherwise specified by the commission.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll work. You get that wording, Rebecca?
Unless otherwise specified by the commission.
Yeah.
After the word, yeah.
Okay.
Are we done with that one? C, right? Up to C.
Yes. Hold on, installation buffer. So this is a comparison of photographs. So it's a documentation of what it's at the end of the project. Are you interested in that?
I know we've got construction photographs of stormwater structures being installed.
Yep.
But have we ever asked for a post-construction?
Occasionally. Maybe that's something that you want to really make a lot stricter and we start hounding them for it. I don't know.
I mean, it would be nice, the value, you know, if there was an alteration, would have prior documentation of what it looked like.
Might just leave it as is.
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know if we've ever got them, but we've certainly had during construction photos given to us.
Are you guys interested in when we get the request for certificate of compliance of us being more active in pursuing that?
Well,
Technically, once again, a site visit should happen. So I guess theoretically, if it's a pre-construction and a post-construction, we could take.
what's the reason for taking the pictures?
Not
If we're
sure.
gonna as-built everything. What are we accomplishing with that?
I know in the past, we wanted pictures to prove something went into the ground, but that was during construction.
That's during construction.
Right.
Well, usually if things get mowed at a later time, we can at least see what was established there prior, because that's really hard to show on a, just a two-dimensional plan.
I'll just leave it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a stupid photo question?
What question?
Is it a stupid photograph question? Is it appropriate to take photos at site visits?
Absolutely, why not?
It's an open file. If it's an open file, why not?
Seems that whenever we make site visits, like we'll just kind of forget what we saw, and we don't have photos kind of documenting some of our observations. And I always just feel funny. Do we need permission from homeowner? Are we not supposed to do it? I like photos.
I suppose as long as you don't include any
You know,
they unwillingly.
I can tell you, one time I was at someone's house, I was taking pictures of it because they wanted some work done. And the woman come out of the house screaming at me because I was taking pictures of her house. But you're in a street, and I don't think there's any law that says that you just can't take a picture.
Well, first of all, every picture of every house is on Google Maps, right?
Right.
Yeah,
No, I'm saying if we're in the backyard, like,
but people get very offensive, when I couldn't believe the reaction.
oh, I believe it.
I'd say
Oh,
as
it's
long as
okay.
you don't to get people in the photo or license plates, right?
I just didn't know if it was a general no, we don't do that for a reason. That's all.
Mm.
Sorry, I don't want to derail the conversation.
Yeah, I don't see why it would be an issue if there's nobody in the picture.
All right.
I think that's a good idea because we're gonna catch what the ground looks like. If there's anything that happens, we can always refer back to, I mean, look at what we do now. We look on Google Map and everything we can to find pictures. So I would think the more pictures you have, the better the record.
Perfect. So at site visits, one of the commission members will be responsible for taking the pre-construction photos and submitting them to the office.
One of them.
One of them. You guys can decide amongst yourselves.
Okay.
We have to appoint a commission photographer.
Yeah, or any visit, doesn't have to be us, it could be, I know you guys visit
Yeah.
a ton too, so.
Sometimes the applicants give us pictures.
I heard Ken's pretty good with the camera.
Keep my mouth shut.
Do we get a cloud? Where do we upload them to? You get a cloud, the Concom cloud.
All right, I think that's more or less it.
Okay.
The ending was just clarifying, moving the things around and ensuring that the numbers are correct. So I would say that's it.
Okay.
All right, Teresa did already review the tree policy.
I did. I'm gonna send it. I have a couple little like wording changes, little typographical things, not major things, and then I'll change it to Habitat Replacement Fund, and I'll send it to you and I'll send it to everyone. All right, I'll get that done. So one question I had is, a vote by the commission will be required for removal of any live tree within a jurisdictional area. Is that correct?
It's supposed to be.
Do we do?
So you can actually require them to file an RDA. So the problem was so many people were requesting trees being taken down that the commission had at one point wanted to know, because they were trying to track where all these trees are being taken down. And they wanted to be more involved in how many trees were being taken down.
But we can't vote on something unless, as you say, there's something. I guess,
Even though you have a policy?
well, I guess we have to have a filing before it's only to vote on it, right?
I don't see why you would. It's just a
No,
tree-
homeowners have come to us before requesting to take down trees without a filing.
And
Yeah.
we just do that.
Can
Okay.
you vote
That's
on
how
it?
it was always done. They would come to the commission. It wasn't done in the field. So it was meant for areas like that Robert Street, where they did an
Okay.
RDA. So it would be something like that. It's in the Crystal Lake watershed, somewhere that's a more
Okay.
sensitive area.
So yeah, so my question was, is that true? And the answer is yes, it is true.
Or it has been in the past.
Okay.
There's precedence.
What, that we voted on it?
Yes.
I think we were always letting Elaine
No,
decide.
you never used to do that.
Yeah, there have been times we voted.
I do not remember voting on tree removal.
It was prior to you.
Yeah,
Okay, prior to the fall of 2018 then.
yes.
Hmm.
It was BT before Teresa.
Well,
Well, it was after first wave.
right, between Teresa.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right. Teresa, you're trying to distance yourself, I think, from this policy.
No. So I guess the answer is just remember to the policy so that we can't, that if it's a live tree, at least 6 inches in diameter, right? When measured off the ground, then we have to vote on it.
I don't know if that's such a great idea. Why wouldn't, because how are we all gonna get together to look at these trees?
Well, isn't there more to it than that the agent can act in our behalf?
No, this says, the rest of the policy says the agent, it has to be done by us or the agent. And then this specifically
Okay,
in bold
you
says
didn't say that.
a vote by the commission will be required for removal of any live tree within the jurisdiction area. So again,
Right, because it's a live tree that it's not specifically posing a safety hazard. That's the difference. If they just want to take down a tree that's in a resource area, that's why it was singled out in that way.
but no, because but that doesn't make any sense, Judy, because earlier on we say it's only, they have to give us the reason, and the reasons must be this. So I don't know why, because otherwise under the policy you wouldn't be able to do it.
Right, but I don't know that that's I think it was trying to avoid that, not because that isn't always happening. That it's always a safety issue, or a lot of times people just want to take a tree down because they want to get out of their lawn or away from
Because
their
they're bad
pool.
people.
I mean, it's either because a tree is diseased or it poses a safety hazard. Usually
Right.
it's one of
Well,
those two
well,
things.
and that's the only way a tree can come down in the jurisdictional area. So I don't understand why if that's the case, why do you need that? And
So if someone wants to take down, say they want to take down an oak tree that's in the.
all I'm saying is it doesn't require a vote. They can go to Elaine or Rebecca and get it done.
And they'll make the decision on a live tree and see.
Well, they could also just say they defer it to the commission.
Right.
Right, but they just need the flexibility to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that should be there because again, it hasn't been done in 3 years, but who's counting?
What should be there? You don't think what should be there?
A vote by the commission will be required.
Oh, okay.
I think it should be reworded that, or the agent.
It says that above.
Why can't it be, if there is a live tree, fine, the agent can make the decision and it's reported back to the commission so that you're aware of the trees that are being taken. I mean, you're the ones that are voting on things. You should be aware of what is being taken down and changed in resource areas, I think.
Mhm.
Right, but what if this tree is hanging? It's been hit
But
by
that's
lightning,
different.
it's hanging over the roof and
But
something
that's different. It's safety hazard, so that's covered already.
Right. So, and up above it says a landowner proposing to remove one or more trees in a jurisdictional area must receive approval prior from the commission and or its agent. It already says that. So again, I don't know why you need a vote by the commission.
All right, take the vote out, but I think there should be some kind of tally of like a spreadsheet, anything. These are the number of trees that have come down. These are the locations. So you know where trees are being taken down, because this was a whole discussion years ago that there were patterns with people were just taking down trees left and right. Suddenly everything was a safety hazard.
Yeah.
And I think the bottom line is you are the ones who are taking the vote on things. And when push comes to shove, you are the people that are enforcing things. So I think you should have an idea of what's happening on the
All I'm saying is that we
That's
shouldn't-
my whole point.
Right. We shouldn't be, and we're relying on our conservation agents to bring them to our attention if they need to be.
Yeah.
So
So
I
do you
But
put
that
it-
hasn't, right, but there should be an accounting of these.
All
There
right,
is a
so
file, there was always a file about.
Yeah, but,
I'm asking those, Judy.
do you
Judy,
put
what
a
do you-
a
what are you
note in the
talking
file?
What are you talking about when you say accounting of? Are you saying that we should
Like a
track-
spreadsheet, these are the areas where trees have, like large trees have been taken down, these are, so you know. I mean, this was a problem, this is how this whole thing started. That there was so many trees being taken down and the commission was concerned about it.
Okay,
That was
but
the impetus for
I guess
this.
I'm saying though, so what do you do? Keep a log
Yes,
of the trees that were, the location the tree was and what size it was or whatever,
right,
what
and this is
information you
what,
want.
this is what the mitigation was, or this is how much went to the tree fund. Because that's a requirement, so
Yeah.
that should be reported back, and that's what other towns do. There's a monthly reporting of what trees were approved for being taken down and what the replication or what the financial compensation was. I don't think that's unreasonable.
So this should be done for each project and
Not
for
even
the
a
homeowners
project.
that come before
No,
us?
no, no, for,
Not even a project. Anyone
not
who-
the projects, outside of projects.
Right.
For people that call and say, I want to take this tree down. And
So-
that's fine, because there are guidelines, you can replicate or you can pay into the tree fund. Is that happening? And if it is, then you should know, the tree fund should be adding up more.
Hmm.
And if one person comes in every year and says, I want to take the next tree down, how do you know, if Elaine had gone out once and Rebecca had gone out once, and they didn't know that the homeowner had already taken a large tree down the year before, because that happened too.
So should there be a note put in the file? Because all these would be jurisdictional.
But if they don't have a file.
They don't
then
have
they
files.
file. But that's why I'm saying, if there's just an Excel spreadsheet that says, here's the address, here's the date, like they do for the filing system. This is the tree that was taken down, this is the size, and this is the replication. Or the
You're
money
talking
that was-
about trees within a jurisdictional area, correct?
Correct,
Yes.
correct.
How many, do you have an idea how many trees get taken down a year
I don't.
on average?
I don't. I'm sure there are a number of them, because when I was in the office, people were calling all the time.
All right, well,
I think trees are inherently dangerous.
Right, exactly.
I think it's very easy to say a tree is dangerous, especially when they get big, because they're big.
yeah.
And
they'll
that's
come
why
down
they
at
should
some
be,
point.
right, but that's why there's another mechanism to have them replicate or,
So let me ask this, Judy, will this work? If I put on the agenda, make another category, you know, we have our projects, then we have our other business, and I can put a new category under there that says like tree removal or something. And then
Yes.
at each agenda, if something has come up within that 2 weeks, then I can put it on there. So most of the time, maybe it'll be blank, but at least that I'll have a record then of which ones, we'll put every single one on there that we get, every request, even if we've approved it, so there's a record of it. Will that work?
But Judy's saying, no, it won't work. We need a spreadsheet, Rebecca.
no, I think it's fine. Well, I think there should be an ongoing list. It can be on the agendas, but there also has to be, if replication is required or money is to be paid, that needs to be documented. Was it done?
Can we do that at the meeting? Is that good enough?
Yes, but
Like, if
I think, like you have the file list on an
Yeah.
Excel spreadsheet. This could be the same thing. The address, this is the tree,
Okay,
you know, in general location.
Tree
So
removal
not
file.
one person removing 5 trees, you know what I mean?
do I put on that tree removal file spreadsheet? Is that going to include only trees that are removed outside of a submittal? Or is it going to
Yes.
include a
Well, unless
cumulative list?
Unless it's something that's not included in their submittal.
If it's in the submittal, we already know about it.
Right.
I think that's
But
the
then
point.
having a count isn't all
Right.
that valuable because we've missed half of them that we're losing.
Right,
a-
all around, right.
Like all the Lovis Ave ones.
But we recognize the ones that we know are coming down. We know which ones they
Right.
are, where they are. But if some are being approved that we just don't know about, I think she's just looking for some kind of tracking mechanism to look for trends or something down the line.
You could do a year-end report too, because we have to do the year-end report, and that can be a piece of the year-end report. And what you can do is you can add up the ones that are tracked outside of a filing, and I suppose you could add up the ones that are within a filing and come up with a cumulative loss.
Beyond what was
Great
already,
idea, as long as you guys
beyond
don't
what
need
was,
to do that.
beyond what was accounted for originally, you mean?
No, I'm saying total for the year. So it would include ones that were approved under a filing, and it would include ones that were approved not under a filing, so that you have a total. In the year 2021, the commission recognized that 87 oaks were taken down,
Right.
which I think is super awesome. I just don't know.
87 oaks being taken down was awesome. You like that?
Oh, no, sorry. I didn't.
Keeping track of it is awesome.
That's what the
Saying I
record
think
says.
that record, the recording of that and having actually the
Oh,
presentation of that
that's
information is awesome, you
Right,
know,
now-
really report. I'm only hesitating on a timing perp. I'm only trying to think about how to get this rolling and the amount of time. And maybe it'll be once it's set up that there's not a huge amount of time, other than the yearly report where we would have to kind of add them up. But then I suppose that Elaine and I could probably try to keep track of them for each file and make a note, and then we could just look through the files of the year and add it. So we can do that.
But don't you think it makes sense to keep track of whether replication is done, whether money has been paid into the tree? I mean, things like that are the
Yeah,
most important part of that condition, of that policy.
I think there's supposed to be both of those, or one or the other, sorry. Which will then get discussed. So perhaps that's what we do, is if it's on the meeting, if it's on the agenda each week, and when one comes up, then obviously Elaine or I would have to report to you not only whether or not it was approved, but also whether or not there was money given or a replacement done.
Yeah, I don't think you need to tell us each time unless you need our input. I don't know why do we need that?
If it's going, but I don't know why you wouldn't want to know if something, I don't know. You are the ones who are making the decisions as members of the
Well,
commission.
no, we're not, because that's the
No,
whole.
but I mean, in a
We're
broad,
not-
in a global sense, you're making the wetlands decisions for the town. And I think that makes a difference. I don't know. I want to know if there's replication or if people are paying into this tree fund, because it drives me berserk that some people do and some people don't. Either there's a standard or there isn't.
So Judy, I want to understand what you're proposing. You're proposing that every time someone calls the town, and again, I'm not arguing with you, I just
Yeah.
want to understand it. Every time someone calls the conservation office and says, I want to cut down trees, and either Rebecca or Elaine check out and say,
Yes.
okay, I'll look at it, and then I can't tell you myself, but I'll bring it up at the next conservation commission here.
No.
And then we
I'm
vote
saying-
on it? I'm trying to understand what you're saying, Judy, that's all.
No, that was only for live trees that people just wanted down for aesthetics. And you decided that you're not gonna have that. That's fine. I'm saying when there's a live tree that's taken down, not one that's dead, then it's dead, it's dead. But if it's something that's going to make a difference, whether it's a huge difference or not, removing the trees is going to make a difference. And I would think that's something you would want to know. And if you have a standard that there's going to be the replication or they're going to pay into the fund, if it's a live tree, then that should be documented.
But they can only remove a live tree if it poses a safety threat or interferes substantially with the landowner's use of the property. That's the only way they can remove any tree.
Well, I don't know that that's actually what's happening.
Well, that's what the policy says.
Right.
If it's a safety hazard or what?
Or a safety threat or interferes substantially with the landowner's use of the property.
Okay. I want to put a tennis court in and all these trees are in the way.
Right.
And we'll say, nope, that does not interfere.
But I think they're all a safety threat.
We're talking about trees within our jurisdiction, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Trees in our jurisdictional area, yes.
But don't you think it's very easy for them to say it's a safety threat?
Yeah,
They know it's not.
Yes.
any tree
Yeah,
that
but-
would
They
fall
are
in the house.
apparently a safety
Yeah,
threat.
but the agent makes that call though, when the agent goes to a house, they make that determination or they push it to. the
We
commission.
don't though. We don't actually make that
What do
determination.
you do?
Totally.
So Rebecca, what do you do when you get a call like that? What do you do?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What do you do when you get a call and say, I want to show you what I want to do? What do you do?
So the site is visited to determine where it is in relationship to the jurisdictional areas. And then if they claim that it's a safety hazard, then they get some type of letter from a certified arborist, which they get every time. Because it's easy to say it's a safety threat. Of course it is.
They've got who gets a letter from a certified arborist?
We
The
do.
homeowner.
The homeowner.
I don't even remember.
Lavanya, can you hear us? She just sent me a text. She said her laptop went crazy. I'm not sure she can still hear us. Okay, just so you guys know.
Who'd you lose?
Anna,
Yeah,
So, yeah, so to Rebecca's point, any tree that could fall and hit the property or the house or whatever could be deemed a safety hazard.
or a play structure, or their kids'
Yeah.
backyard, or their
Yeah.
dog, or a
but
stream. and
not
it
if it's a
causes-
healthy tree. If it's a healthy tree, that doesn't make any sense.
Could get hit by lightning,
It could
get
drop.
uprooted, could get, uprooted from water erosion or
We've had this
something.
issue before in connection with filing recently. I forget that they said that.
That is a safety hazard.
Yeah.
I mean, branches drop all the time off healthy trees. I don't know, we could debate this one forever.
Ever and ever.
Maybe we should table this and pick it back up.
10:30.
Yeah,
I
Curfew.
definitely think we should not.
Town curfew is about to kick in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why don't I do this? I will send you guys a couple of arborist letters that we receive.
By the way, an arborist letter, according to this policy, is only required if the tree is unhealthy or dying. Otherwise, the policy does not require an arborist letter.
And who determines the safety hazard?
It doesn't say. We can.
So I know of a situation.
You know what? We don't want to.
Responsibility.
We don't want to be in a position of making professional judgments about safety. I think that's crazy.
And I think you guys have said that before, that you don't want to make that determination whether or not it's a safety hazard.
Right.
And then we have to, I guess the question is, then we should say that in order to show that they need a letter from an arborist will tell us if it's a safety hazard, I guess, if it's.
Well, they'll just tell you if it's healthy, not if it's a hazard.
They're not gonna say it's a
Yeah.
safety hazard. No one's gonna tell us it's a safety hazard, if for the reason Peter just said.
Are there any liability issues here? If we said, no, you can't take it down, and then thing came crashing through the roof?
Well, that's the point, is that we're not in the position of, I don't think we want to put ourselves as a
Right.
commission, in the position of making. And so you're right. It's, they're going to say that. And what are we going to say?
Right.
It's not an easy, and that goes back to, if it's in a sensitive zone, to say, yeah, but you got to pay,
Or more.
But the tree fund is here
Oh,
for
no,
that.
no, if it's in the jurisdictional area, you have to pay. Forget about being sensitive.
Or you
Jurisdictional,
can
don't even-
replace per linear foot. So you could take down a tree and put 6 shrubs.
Point that I'm saying
And
is,
that's a good alternative.
then.
Do we have
they
someone
decide
at
not to do it.
DPW who's?
If they decide not to do it, they make the decision about whether the tree should stay or go. But it comes at, I guess, I just don't want I don't want, Lane, Rebecca have to make judgment calls. And, because we're not, then we're like free arborists or something. We're not.
Arborist is only gonna tell us if the tree is healthy or not. That's what
Do we have an in-town tree expert? Do we
I
have-
still say my
Yeah.
biggest concern about this is when developers are developing and they, there's a tree 10 feet from where the foundation of the house is, and they say, we're not taking it down because they don't want the tree fund charged. And we know full well that tree's going down, within 10 years. They'll be coming back saying it's a hazard. And that is what we see constantly. And in some ways, I feel like saying we should charge I'd like to have something that says that if we think it's a tree that, is within 15 feet of the foundation, we're gonna charge you the cost up front, take it down. You can leave it up or take it down, but we don't believe it's staying up, and we're charging accordingly. I could get behind that, because I see that all the time. We see that on, they just say, I'm sure that's what the developers say. Don't just say you're gonna keep it and then take it down and say it's a safety hazard.
I agree that I don't want to make the determination if it's a safety hazard.
Right, right.
No, but the point is that we can, and I have a bigger problem. I have less of a problem where someone plants a small tree and the tree gets big over time, and the tree gets, but I do have an issue with people building houses right next to giant trees and telling us that they're not going to take them down, and then they're coming down.
Well, just so you know, in the certificate, in the order, the conditions, it says if you remove a tree, you must pay. So that's.
Right, but that doesn't happen. That's the
I
problem.
understand.
So we have to rationalize it, and I don't want to sound like an unimaginative soul. I'd be interested to know what the other towns are doing, on this, because this problem is going to be as old as the hills. And I'm curious how the other towns handle it.
Yeah, we took this one from Winchester.
And Reading has a better one.
Really? Okay. Well, now you're saying something then. We're,
Can you send us a
Wakefield
Reading
has
one?
one. I think Melrose has one.
Maybe send us a couple of examples.
Yeah, and what is the theme of the ones that you like, that you can take it down? We're not going to tell you you can or can't take it down. We're going to tell you pay, though.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds like right to me. I don't know what else to say. Rebecca, you're right. There's no way I want you to, put yourself in that position. And you know what the reality of it is? people could say when they build a house, they're not taking the tree down. They say they're not gonna take the tree down, so they don't pay. And then it really is a hazard. And it should come down, you know.
And as soon as it transfers hands, it comes down.
Yeah.
All right, so where do we stand with this? Do we need to see a couple of examples from other towns to clean this up?
Yep. For
All
next.
right. I suggest that we cover the other topics next time. 25-foot no disturb and the proposed bylaw.
So are you asking for a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
I am in a way, yes.
Second, motion made.
So can I just, I'm sorry, can I just clarify one thing? Who's gonna look at Melrose and Wakefield and make suggested changes? So I just want to make sure if I'm,
Judy's gonna send us what,
I know I'm doing it, and if someone else is doing it, we know who else is doing it, that's all.
Judy's gonna send us the, what Reading and Melrose have. We're gonna take a look at them.
So for the next meeting, we're just gonna look at them all together.
Sure.
Is that, again, I'm just trying to get it straight, that's all.
Yeah, well, we'll have those in advance.
Judy, I have writings in front of me. I can mail it to you.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
All right, so there was a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Yeah. That was mine.
You made the motion, Peter?
Yes, I did.
I'm gonna second it for you.
All right, Ken,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Silvana is back. Can you hear us?
She can't.
Okay. She can raise her hand.
You want me to tell her to raise her hand?
Sure.
Hold on,
To adjourn.
Can't hear us though, so how's she gonna raise her hand?
because I'm texting her.
So if she doesn't vote, we can't adjourn?
Okay, we have a quorum to-
Yep.
Jimmy, how, you can raise your hand right on the screen. Jimmy, what about you?
Yes.
Okay, I also vote to adjourn. And there is a raise the hand function, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, there is.
There is a raised hand.
Yeah, right at the bottom of the screen.
Everyone's doing it.
All right, well, she didn't raise her hand, but we have a quorum anyways to adjourn, so meeting is adjourned and we'll talk in 2 weeks.